Pardonnez-moi.
I do not have le bouteille that means the bottle,
There.
for le punch-up. You know, I cannot do it.
Transfer fees up. Season tickets up. High prices up. Why the blooming heck are you still up?
Topical sport and debate worth staying awake for. The Two Mikes.
All night long.
On Talk Sport.
All night long.
Look at the light.
Helicopter and,
Right.
money and, all this kind of stuff,
Is that the French words for helicopter and money?
That's right, yeah,
Really?
absolutely, yeah. But, of course, it didn't work, and then they got him. But not before he nearly shot me.
Yeah.
I saw the flash of the gun, I wonder what that was. And then you bang, you hear a ping on the wall behind you. That's why I dived into the concrete mixer.
Yeah, very good.
Try and get away.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Mike, as well. And, of course, the anti-British venom that you spout often on this programme is bubbling up again, isn't it?
Not at all. All I'm saying is
all the
pointing
world's
out...
football's good except what happens in this country.
No, it's not true. No, you see, you're taking, once again, a very negative view of what I'm describing, which is entirely straight, which is basically that we hear all the time, what a great football business we have in this country.
Well, we do. We have the best in the world.
That we have the best football league in the world, being spouted by people like yourself.
Yeah.
We have the best managers. We have the best players. Well, I'm sorry we don't, because Neymar, who you have to admit is one of the best players in the world.
But he's not the best.
Well, he may not be the best, but he's better than anybody we've got in this country, and he's moving from his country at the moment, which is Spain, to another country, which is France. And he's not stopping at go. He's not collecting his £200.
Yeah.
He's not coming anywhere near the Premier League.
Yeah.
He has not been attracted by anyone in the Premier League. Instead, he's going to go and play for Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, Neymar is committing professional suicide on a vanity project. That's basically it,
Rubbish.
okay?
Absolute rubbish.
And it suits the business plan of the owners of PSG and investors in Barcelona for this to go ahead.
Uh-huh.
It's all actually a bit of a fake. It's a bit of a fake.
How is it a fake?
Well, because it's not based on the idea that the world's best player is going to the world's best club, which is what normally happens. It's based on the actual negative, on the reverse of that, and that is one of the world's best players.
Yeah, goes to one of the world's best clubs.
Yeah, but PSG isn't one of the world's best clubs.
Well, it is one of the world's best clubs.
No, it's not, Mike.
It's on a regular basis in the Champions League.
No.
They've got an awful lot of financial backing.
No.
At one point or other in the future, they will win the Champions League because that's what money does.
No, they won't. And let me tell you this. France is not even a football country. There's about five sports in France.
They won the World Cup in 1998.
Yeah, they did win the World Cup in 1998, but rugby is much more popular in France than football.
Well, they won the World Cup more recently than we did. So
Yes.
does that mean we're not a footballing nation either?
No, not at all. Because
Well, then how can you say that?
Because if you look at the domestic football industry in France, it's negligible compared to the domestic football industry in Germany, Spain, Italy,
Well, you
and
may say that.
the United Kingdom.
You may say that. And all of those nations that you've just named have won the World Cup more recently than England have. And England, which likes to sit
why do you
around...
keep banging on about England? I'm
Well,
talking
because
about
we live in-
domestic games here.
Well, because we live in England,
Why are you
right?
talking about international
I don't know
football
why you get
for?
so worked up about
Because
it.
I'm talking about the domestic game.
You just told me France was not a footballing country, so I'm just answering your argument.
Yes.
If you don't want to talk about international countries and whether they're international playing football countries...
International's
then
got
don't-
nothing to do with it.
Well, what are you talking about?
French players who won the World Cup did not play in France. None of them. Not one of them, okay?
Are you sure not one of them did?
Not one of them.
Are you sure?
Not one of them in the French World Cup winning team played in France.
Uh-huh.
They played it at great clubs around the world, okay? Because France is not a footballing country.
Well, then how do they produce any international footballers if they're not a footballing country?
France have been lucky enough, because of their colonial past, a bit like us, to be able to acquire footballers of different genres, okay?
Yeah. Which colonial country did David Ginola come from?
David Ginola was not a great French footballer.
Really?
He was a good French footballer.
He was an international French footballer.
But he wasn't a World Cup winner.
He played in a bunch of very successful British teams. Your argument is, as usual, spurious.
It's not. Yours is.
Useless.
No, yours is. You're just banging on and going, oh, nothing good.
I don't know whether you've got out of bed on the wrong side
nothing
tonight.
Good in Britain.
You seem to be. That's not what I said. When did I say that?
All I'm trying to do is knock down your argument.
When did I say there was nothing good in Britain?
No, just happening in Britain, does it? We say we've got the greatest football and we haven't. It's all happening in Spain. Yeah. This is a gerrymandered transfer.
Well, all I'm telling you is
to move money about and to get Neymar on the pedestal.
Who are the two greatest players in the football world at the moment? Who are
Ronaldo?
Yes.
And Lionel Messi.
And where do they play?
And they play in Barcelona and Real Madrid.
In Spain.
In Spain, yeah.
So don't play here then.
No, they don't play here. No.
So therefore,
Well,
we
everybody
don't
knows
have
that.
the best players in the world playing in the Premier League. It's a simple fact. I don't know why you get so worked up about it.
I'm not worked up about it, but
You
it's a
seem to be.
spurious fact. What's it matter? I mean, what point are you trying to make?
My point is that if we are supposedly the best league in the world,
Yeah.
we should attract the best players in the world.
I
And
know.
unfortunately, here's another example.
Well, where did
of
Ronaldo used to play?
Well, Ronaldo, before he was the best player in the world, played at Manchester United.
Yes, but he
left.
and he's the best player in the world. And
Well,
he played
now
at
he
Manchester
is.
United,
Yeah, but he started his game
well,
there.
it looks like Eden Hazard might be, the man who might go to Barcelona, replace Neymar.
Yes.
Where does he play?
He currently plays at Chelsea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but he's not the best player in the world.
But he's one of the best players in the world. He must be if he's going to Barcelona.
Well, if he's one of the best players in the world, why doesn't he stay here? He doesn't stay here because the best players in the world do not want to play in the Premier League. That's my point.
No, that's
so
rubbish.
you're making my point for me.
No, football's a transient business, mate.
Really?
And your points are so spurious. I can't see the point of your point, to be honest.
Well, I'm sorry that you can't
banging
understand. I'm not sure you can't understand the point that I'm making. It's pretty straightforward. I'm sure there's lots of people that can understand it.
Do you not
right?
think this transfer is a load of baloney?
No, I
because
don't.
Neymar's not improving his career. He's detracting from it. He's going to a club which is about, I would say, by a factor of 10 inferior to Barcelona, the club he's leaving.
Well,
it's a ridiculous
that's
transfer.
not necessarily the case
It
either.
is the case.
No, it's not.
What's the average crowd at PSG?
I don't know.
23,000.
23,000.
What's the average crowd at Barcelona?
The average crowd at Barcelona is about 85,000.
89,000.
So why does that mean that there's...
Why would you leave a club that's got 89,000 people a week for a club that's got 23? I just don't understand
Well,
it.
there's plenty of reasons why you would leave the club.
Well,
and
money, certainly.
Money is certainly one of them.
And if a footballer's motivated by money, his head's not in the right place.
Are you really saying that?
Yes.
Are you actually having a laugh?
No, I'm not.
Do you actually understand how football works?
What do you think motivates Cristiano Ronaldo?
Money.
No, Cristiano Ronaldo is motivated by the fact he wants to stay at the peak of football. He wants to be the best player in the world. He wants to be the most admired and revered player in the world. And he wants to play for the biggest club in the world. And he has achieved all that. And, of course, along the way, he's made himself fabulously rich.
Yes.
But his desire to be the top footballer came first.
Well, let me read you some of the tweets that are coming in already.
Sure.
MG, you are spot on. The English Premier League is overrated. We don't have world-class players.
Another
Hang on.
anti-English?
No, we don't have world-class players. Look at Bale and Suarez. They've all left.
Yeah.
Here's one from James. He says, do a poll. As a professional footballer, where would you rather live or play? Barcelona, Paris, Manchester or London?
Well, I can't...
And Urgent says, where's Eric Cantona from?
Yeah, I cannot account for footballers who like lying on beaches when they're not playing football. And there aren't a great deal of beaches and sunshine in this country. There's nothing we can do about that, I'm afraid.
Well,
that's a geographical factor.
Footballers do not come to this country in order to lie on a beach, right?
No, they go to Spain to lie on a beach.
Footballers come
and they
to
go
this
to
country.
Italy to lie on a beach.
Do you know what is interesting here? And if you look back to, say, for example, the days before Rangers collapsed, right? A lot of players went to play in Scotland for Rangers because they offered a lot of money.
Yes.
They were not, however, players that were at the top end of their career. They were not players who were particularly the best players in the world. They were expensive players and they were international players and they went to Scotland, but they actually ended up ruining Scottish football.
Well, Terry Butcher...
Because Rangers couldn't actually afford to play them, right?
Terry Butcher was Britain's best defender when he went to
He
Rangers.
was indeed, but there were lots of foreign players who went to play in Scotland who Rangers couldn't actually afford, right? Now, you could argue that in this country we have the same problem. We've got players who are being bought and sold for ludicrous amounts of money, but they are not the best players in the world. And that's all my point is. I'm not saying that makes Britain bad or it makes other countries better.
Yes.
I'm just trying to have a conversation with you about why it is that Neymar has not even considered coming to this country to play his football. If Neymar wants to be a star,
well,
which he
because
does,
we're not offering him the money PSG are offering.
If Neymar wants to be a star, which he does, he doesn't want to play in a team with Lionel Messi anymore because he's only the number 2 star in that team.
Number 3, I think.
Well, why wouldn't he come to Manchester United? Why wouldn't he come to Arsenal? Why wouldn't he come to Chelsea?
Because
why
it's a deal manufactured with the assistance of Middle East money. And the Middle East money investors are in Paris and they're in Barcelona.
Yes.
If you don't understand that, then I think you should go out the studio door, turn around and come back in again.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do.
Because you've completely lost the plot.
I'll tell you what I'll do. What I'll do, first of all,
you don't understand this transfer. That's your problem.
I'll correct one of the statements you made earlier in which you said that none of the French team played in France.
Yep.
Tell that Plank Parry 8 of the French national team in 1998 in the World Cup played for French clubs.
Rubbish.
That's not rubbish.
It is
That's
rubbish.
true.
It's
Do you want
rubbish.
me to name them?
Can if you want, but they didn't start the final.
Well, they did, actually.
No.
They did. I'm afraid you've got that wrong.
No, I have not got that
anyway,
wrong.
You've obviously got out of bed on the wrong side. I haven't. I'm talking
Everton
sense.
are
You're
playing,
talking absolute rubbish. We're not talking about Everton yet.
Everton are playing Rouxon-Berroc tonight, MFK Rouxon-Berroc. We take a 1-goal lead there. I'm very excited about
Well,
it.
I'm glad you're excited about it. I don't know why it's a grumpy and grouchy.
Jags has extended his time at Everton by another year. We're all very pleased about that.
We're not all very pleased about that. I would rather salute Celtic, actually, for getting through
Celtic
to the
did
next
very
stage.
well.
I'm telling you, they're through to the next stage of
telling
Champions
you.
League qualification.
You're
This is
mighty
Talk Sport. We want to
European
take some of
tour.
your calls. Please call and tell me that England is not the be-all and end-all of football.
No. You see, that's a ridiculous
08717.
question.
Hang on. 08717 223344.
It's a
Why is it
ridiculous
ridiculous?
question.
Why?
Because you're not comparing like with like.
Yes, I am.
Our domestic league is the best in the world. It's the most
No, it's
profitable
not.
in the world.
Rubbish.
And it's the most entertaining
Why
in
is
the
it
world.
Neymar coming here then?
Why is it the most subscribed to football league in the world globally? Because it's the best.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not. It's the best marketed, maybe, but it's not the best. That's a big difference. 08717 223344. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Don't give me love, oh, no, that stuff, 'cause it's ya. Money about the baby. Your love and your kisses, they're just not enough. It's ya. Money about the baby. Well, I know that it's hard.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. We've got a bit of a row going on here because Porky's upset with me.
No row.
He's upset with me because I've dared to question whether the Premier League is in fact perhaps not the most important football league in the entire world because Neymar's not coming here. And here's one from Stephen who says, please tell the Red Bull-fuelled Porky PSG's average attendance was over 45,000 per game, not 23,000, which is what you said.
Yeah, well,
so I don't
it
mind
depends
correcting
which
that.
games you're talking about.
Well, indeed. And here's one from somebody called Matt who says, if our league was the best in the world, then we would have all the investment and the best players in the world playing in it, which, of course, we don't have.
We have plenty of investment, believe me.
Well, we have loads of investment,
Yeah.
but we don't have the best players. That's the point.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure why you say that, because...
Well, we don't have Ronaldo, we don't have Messi, and now we don't have Neymar.
Who would you want them to play for?
Well, I'd want them to play for at least one of the top 4 clubs in the country, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I mean, I would like to have seen Manchester United going wacky, way out there and going, OK, tell you what, Neymar's unhappy at Barcelona, let's go and get him.
Well, I've told you the Manchester United solution. They've got to go and buy Harry Kane.
Well, they might have
They
to
go
buy
to
Harry
Spurs
Kane,
and
but-
they say, right, on the basis of this, we'll give you 120 million for Harry Kane. Mr. Levy will say, yes, thank you, I need that money to build the new stadium, and that will solve Manchester United's problem. And if anybody from Manchester United's listening who has any influence there, put that idea to Jose, because believe me, it'll
Yeah, but all that will
switch
do-
a light bulb on in his head.
And you may be right that that's a good idea for
Yes,
them, but
it
in
is
the
a
end,
good idea.
But in the end, all that does is cannibalise another team in the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
What it doesn't do is keep the Premier League teams at the very, very top, not only of their own league, but also keep them at the top of the Champions League. We will never win a Champions League as an English club if we are not competitive in the world of getting the best players to come and play here.
Well,
it's as simple as that.
I think you'll find that if Harry Kane does not go to Manchester United this summer and Spurs have a dull season because they've moved into Wembley, Harry Kane may well end up at Real Madrid next season.
Well, he may well do.
Yeah.
And then that'll be another great player
Yeah,
lost.
exactly.
I mean, Gareth Bale has been lost, hasn't he? He's not coming
He's
back.
been lost.
He's a man who said, as you pointed out at the
Yeah.
weekend,
Please don't sell me
Please
to
don't send me to Manchester United. What's that all about?
It's
Let's talk to
amazing.
Kevin, who's an Everton fan.
Yeah.
Kevin, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, lads. You're okay?
Hi,
yeah,
Kev.
very
Yeah,
well,
we're good.
mate.
We're
What do you,
good.
I mean, I know it's a very exciting week for you guys, but let's talk about the English Premier League first before we talk about Everton.
Yeah, sure. The English Premier League, it's an excellent league, but I don't think it's the best in the world.
From what point of view, though? From what perspective do you say that?
You've over the last few years, Mike, and don't get me wrong, I'm a toffee like yourself.
Yeah.
You've only got to look at the winning teams in the Champions League who've won the competition. We're under the tomazin here in this country that our players are world class. When they step up to a certain level in competitions, they get found out to be mediocre. At best. The point that I was going to make when I rang the show, I personally think this is a sad night for football over this Neymar deal. For one, obviously it's football related, but I think it's more political. I think Qatar's got a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, Qatar have got a lot of fingers in a lot of pies, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, mate, yeah. Also, as Mike knows, and you probably know, Mr. Graham, always look at the differential. Three of the biggest words in football are confidence, opinions and goals.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions that I spoke to in work tonight, Neymar is nowhere near worth what they paid for him and the wages. £30 million a year, 500 grand a week.
Yeah.
No, it's
but you know, Kevin, as well as we all do, that a large portion of that money will be recovered in shirt sales. I mean, we've already heard, even at Aston Villa,
what, in
that
France?
John
I don't
Terry.
think so.
Of course they will. John Terry is now accounting for something like 85% of the sale of Aston Villa shirts because people like big names. People in Paris, people at Paris Saint-Germain will buy Neymar shirts.
Paris is not a football city.
You keep saying that.
It's not.
Rubbish.
It's not.
Do you know what, Mike?
Yeah.
It's like a lot of this money now that's circulating in football is all due with television and Sky, this, that and the other. Now, my worrying thing is, if Sky, for some reason, one day get fed up with football and want to look somewhere else, how many clubs do you think could go bust, Mike, without Sky's money?
Yeah. Well, of course they would. And in fact...
Facebook's the next big thing for football.
Yeah. Kev, Sky have levelled the playing field for us at Everton. The reason that we are now able to compete and get back in the big time is because the playing field has been levelled by the massive increase in Sky money. And we've got a new owner, Mr. Mashiri, who obviously is influential in raising money for projects like the new ground. But you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I think it's obscene, Mike. It's obscene.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at other things, we've got a fantastic hospital here, Broad Green Heart and Chest Hospital. You've got surgeons saving lives every day.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you've got firemen and police and this, and you look at the jobs they do.
Yeah.
But you know what, Mike? In a way, we're all hypocrites because I'd take it.
Yeah, well, of course we are, Kev. I mean, the point is, mate, you're absolutely right in what you say.
If Neymar showed up at Goodison Park, you'd go, brilliant. He's the greatest player that's ever been seen.
No, I wouldn't.
Of course you would.
I wouldn't, because you'd have to pay him the sort of money PSG are paying. It would bankrupt the club, so I wouldn't want him there, because it would just completely disrupt our rebuilding operation. But, Kev, when you try to compare footballers to other members of society, it's impossible to come to any sensible conclusion, except for the fact that, believe it or not, a lot of people can become doctors by spending 5 or 6 years studying, but you can't become a footballer as good as Neymar or Ronaldo by studying anything. You're born with it, and that's it, I'm afraid, and it's supply and demand.
I take that all day long, Mike.
Yeah.
And to bring it back down to our club, Everton.
Yes.
We're going through a situation now with Swansea City over Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Yes.
And this is another classic case of opinions. £50 million? No, not for me.
Yeah.
35 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with
supply and
35.
demand now.
I'm with 35. I'm with you on 35. But I mean, it depends on what Mr. Koeman, how much Mr. Koeman values him as an integral part of the rebuilding plan. And at the moment, we've probably got a spare 10 million, Kev, to push that deal through. So,
Mike, you know the saying in football now, mate, don't you?
yeah, go on.
If you want the best, you've got to pay the rest.
Yes, that's right.
And that's it.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, boys, I'm at work, so I'm going to have to shoot off.
Off you go, Kevin. Thank you very much
well done,
indeed.
Kev. Thank you very
now,
much.
I mean, you might make the argument that if Neymar is worth 450 million quid, is he that much more worthwhile than Gylfi Sigurdsson for 50 million quid?
Yes.
Because that's like 9 times more, right? You know, is he 9 times better than Gylfi Sigurdsson? Probably. And that's, I mean, there's no point in arguing really in the end that people are paying too much money for footballers now because it's just the way of the world.
Yes.
You might as well say it's absolutely outrageous that when I go into the Ritz and order a gin and tonic, it costs 18 quid.
That's right.
Well, if you
don't go in the Ritz.
If you don't want to go and pay that much for a gin and tonic, go to Wetherspoons where you'll get one for £2.50.
Exactly.
You know, let me read you a couple of tweets here.
Yes, please do.
Jimmy says this: how can Porky say the Premier League is the best in the world when we can't get world-class players and world-class players leave? One from Becky who says, how can the English Premier League be the best in the world when our club and national sides consistently and constantly fail in Europe? That's a very good point.
Yeah. Why do more people in the world want to watch the Premier League than the La Liga, than Italy, than Germany? It's because it is the most competitive.
Well, they do up to a point, but again...
No, they do. The worldwide demand is worth billions
up to a point
to the Premier League.
But the worldwide demand is for games like, say, Everton against Liverpool, Manchester United against Arsenal,
That's right.
Chelsea against Manchester City.
Absolutely right.
It is not for Stoke versus Watford, okay? And that is my point all the time.
No, but it's even...
You have to buy the package.
It's even less for Valencia against La Deportiva.
That's true.
Right?
But if you or Deportivo La Coruña even, if you want to get it right.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But what I'm saying is that if you want to watch, say, for example, El Clasico, Manchester City against Manchester United, it's all in the same league. You've got Real Madrid against Barcelona, Atletico Madrid
but that's the only game
Real
worth
Madrid.
watching in Spain.
Well, no, Atletico Madrid against Real Madrid, people want to watch that as well.
Mildly.
You know, you're right to say that people buy the package more because you might argue there's more British teams or English teams that are worth watching.
That's right.
However, more people will watch the El Clasico game than would watch Stoke against Watford.
I know.
Surely you concede that.
Yeah, I do concede that. But we have a top 6 in this country who are very competitive teams who all have world-class players in them, the top 6 in this country. And that's why the Premier League, week in, week out, attracts huge audiences around the world. The only people who are watched on Spanish television are, as we know, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and occasionally Atletico Madrid.
Yeah,
and
but here's a question.
That does not attract worldwide
audiences. But here's a question from Matt, and I mean, I think there are several answers to the question.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you can give at least one of them.
Yeah.
So come on then, Porky, says Matt. Why are all the top football players currently not playing in this country if we're that good? It's a good question.
Yeah, the answer to that is because of the amount of money that is... You see, for instance, in Spain, Real Madrid and Barcelona take about 90% of all the TV revenues because that's
They've
the way
just melted that down a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, they have a little bit to give Atletico a bit more money. But that means that the security of tenure and the attractiveness of your workplace is great at those two clubs. It's the same in Germany, Bayern Munich, who many people don't realise are as rich, if not richer, than Real Madrid and Barcelona because their commercial activities
some would say that Bayern,
in Europe's biggest economy.
And some would say Bayern are in decline at the moment because they haven't actually won the Champions League very recently.
I agree.
And some would say that their kind of recruitment policy has been a bit slow of late.
But going to PSG is not a step up and a step forward for any internationally ambitious footballer because PSG is not one of the world's great clubs and France is not one of the world's great footballing countries.
Would you
And
admit...
I don't know why why he thinks he's going to become, world player of the year at a French club that's got no other players of equal comparison to him in it.
Well, that's not true.
Beyond me.
That's
beyond me.
But, I mean, surely you would concede that success in the Champions League is what all of these clubs want, OK?
Yes.
The more successful they are in the Champions League, the more money they make, the more international stars they can manage to attract and all of that.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that PSG, who have had a couple of tilts at it, not particularly successfully, at the Champions League, with Neymar, will believe that they can at least get themselves to the next level, which will be a semi-final stroke final of the Champions League.
Still not winning it, though, are they?
Well, they might win it this year. You don't know that.
I don't think they will.
I think they've given themselves a chance. But
I don't think
here's
they
what
will.
annoys me about what some people say in this country, and this is why this country, I think, is always going to be slightly sort of, deluded about itself. Messi and Neymar, says David, are unproven in the Premier League. They don't have the guts to risk it. Who cares about Neymar? I mean, really? Is that really the view of somebody who's actually got a brain?
I have some sympathy with that. Why all the fuss about Neymar? So
you're not going to give me the old, he couldn't play in Stoke on a wet Tuesday night.
I don't know whether he could or not, but I don't know if he could survive in the pace and the fury of the Premier League, even if he was playing for Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, or, Liverpool. I don't know whether he would survive here.
Well, I'm sure he would. John says, based on what clubs get back per shirt sale, PSG need to sell 8 million shirts with Neymar on to recoup the transfer fee.
Exactly.
Well, I think you're being slightly ridiculous there, John.
Being ridiculous.
Because, one, they don't need to sell just 8 million shirts. The fact that he's there will promote all sorts of different amounts of money coming into the club. All sorts of different sponsorships will come as a result of it. He is a superstar, and he will now be the superstar in France.
Okay.
He will be all over France, I tell you.
Shirt sales have to be worldwide to get your money back. How many shirts do you think that PSG will sell with Neymar's name on the back in Thailand?
Probably about 100 million.
No, none.
Yeah, they probably will.
No,
you're going to say none. Are you joking?
No, I'm not joking.
Are you joking?
People in Thailand...
Neymar has just been in China, right?
Yeah.
What do you think he was doing there?
But he was in China when he played for Barcelona.
That's right. But he is a super global star.
Nobody in China has ever heard of PSG. Nobody in Thailand has ever heard of PSG.
Yeah, but they've heard of Neymar.
I don't care. Neymar has now become a non-star for taking off the red and dark blue striped shirt of Barcelona and putting on a PSG shirt.
That's not true.
Most people in China will say, PSG? Who is he? I mean, they just will not know.
Do you think that's what they'll say?
Yeah,
Do you think they'll rhyme it just like that?
Well,
PSG, who is he?
yeah, but in Chinese, obviously.
Of course.
Because he's I don't know, I just don't understand the excitement of him going to PSG.
Well,
he's taken a step down in his standing in the football world.
Let me explain the basic rules of marketing to you, which you clearly don't understand. If you are at PSG and you would like to increase your sort of reach and your recognition in somewhere like China, what you do is you go and take a world superstar who is well known in China, who plays for Barcelona, and you make him come and play for you. And then guess what? Everybody in China goes, oh, look, he's playing for this team in France called PSG.
Yes.
Better go and buy one of those shirts.
No.
And that's how it works.
No, the Chinese don't like the French anyway.
The Chinese don't like the French.
No, there were a lot of colonial wars going on in the last 3 centuries, and the French often, got over there and got involved in the Opium Wars.
How do they feel about the Portuguese?
Gave them a bit of stick. The Portuguese are Britain's oldest ally, so we feel great about the Portuguese.
I'm not talking about us.
They're the first country
Chinese.
we ever signed an agreement with in war.
I'm talking about how do the Chinese feel about the Portuguese?
How do the Chinese? What's that got to do with it?
Well, because there's quite a big Chinese and Portuguese and sort of enclave, is there not?
Where?
In China.
What do you mean?
Macau,
yeah. What about it?
It's Portuguese.
Well, Neymar has got nothing to do with it. Neymar's Brazilian.
Yeah. What language do they speak in Brazil?
Portuguese.
Thank you.
But it's not Portugal. I'm sorry. That's like saying what language do they speak in America? English. But it's not England. Okay.
Really? Okay.
Can't you work that out?
Yeah. I think you're winning this one, matey. This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes. Ethan says if the Premier League's top players played in Spain, they'd look like world beaters. Easy.
Yeah.
Well, that may well be. Here's one from somebody called Are You the Farmer? 198 million for Neymar equates to 4 Kyle Walkers. It's a bargain, really.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at it that way, you might say that, right?
Yeah. And I've just done some research. Barthez, the goalkeeper, right? He went to Manchester United, didn't he?
Barthez, what, the French goalkeeper?
Yeah, the bald head, right?
Yeah, he was good, wasn't he?
He played for Monaco. And the other guy was Guy Vache, okay? He played for...
Are you talking about the people that played in the French World Cup winning side?
Auxerre. Two of them. Two of them out of 11.
Auxerre. Well, you said none of them. You said there was none.
Oh, yeah. But in the squad, right, there were only 5% of the players in the squad
both ways.
played in France.
Well, you told me none of them did.
No. When I said none, I'm talking about outfield players, right?
I see, right.
So I go from none to one in outfield players, okay?
You still got it wrong, didn't you?
No.
Why don't you just admit you got it wrong?
No, I didn't get it wrong.
It was 10 players in the squad out of 22. That's the figure.
No.
Yes, that's the figure.
Yeah, but of those who played, 2 out of 11.
You've got it wrong twice now.
1 out of 10 in outfield players. 10%. Only 10% of the French World Cup winning team played in France.
You said it was low percent.
Well, 0 to 10 is not a very... It's a very small margin.
You also got it wrong about the PSG attendance. Let's talk to Ismat, who's an Arsenal fan, and see whether he thinks that Alexis Sanchez is going to hang around, because Alexis Sanchez is thought to be one of the best players in the Premier League, but he may be leaving. Ismat, very good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Yes.
Great show, guys.
Thank you. Now, are you going to tell me that you think Alexis Sanchez is going to stay here because it's the greatest league in the world?
I wouldn't consider the Premier League to be the best in the world. I would say it's the most exciting in the world.
Exactly.
For a simple reason, we have top 6 or top 7 teams. We wait until the last week or two of the league to find out who's the winner, who's getting relegated. Something that we cannot say about other leagues like the Spanish league when you have...
That's very possible, Ismat, but I have to say to you that there are occasions when I sit on a Saturday night watching Match of the Day and it gets down to, say, the 6th game and it's maybe a 0-0 draw between Swansea and West Bromwich Albion. I question whether or not this is the greatest league in the world that I'm watching.
We sure used to be, at a certain point years ago, but... My main point, why we don't attract the best players in the world. Let's take Ronaldo as an example. He used to play for Manchester United, one of the biggest teams in the whole world, but he was eager to run away to Real Madrid because it's not only about money. Manchester United would have...
No, but that was his antecedents. He'd been a Real Madrid fan all his life.
He didn't run away there either. He was offered a very good deal to go there.
Yeah, and he played there because he'd always wanted to play there. You know, he's from Madeira, I think, isn't he? He's Portuguese, obviously,
That's right.
but I mean, a very strong Spanish influence, obviously.
Well, he loves Portugal, which doesn't like Spain, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, and he considered it to be the best team in the world for him. And yes, in some ways, you take Real Madrid and Barcelona; they are above, head and shoulder above the rest of the world. And
Who are?
Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Well, no, they're not, because Manchester United are the richest club in the world, so they can't be.
Yeah, money-wise, yes, but
Yes.
Achievements, Champions Leagues wins, the amount of world-class players playing for these teams, the amount of fans they attract all over the world. Definitely, yes, Manchester United is the richest club in the world, but they don't have the best players in the world.
Yeah.
Their position in the league is not the best, over the last few years since they lost Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
Players take it differently. Some players play for money. Some players want to achieve things.
Yes, that's right.
Life.
That's right, Isma. And the better players are those who want to achieve things, OK? And that's Ronaldo. He wanted to achieve things. Neymar wants to achieve being the best player in the world. So that's a quite individualistic and selfish approach to life. And he's got it all wrong. He won't become the best player in the world at PSG, will he?
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And,
yes.
Yes. I think Neymar is doing a big mistake by moving to Paris Saint-Germain and leaving Barcelona, leaving these top-class players. He is doing well over there, but I guess it's about money for him. It's individual from one player to another. He wants to be maybe the number one, not overshadowed by Messi or Suarez. Mm-hmm. But as I said, at a certain point, we used Barcelona and Real Madrid were not as good as they are now. Like if you go 20 years back, they were good, but they were Manchester United at a certain point was the best team in the world. But,
that's true, absolutely true. But the point is, the bottom line is, Matt, surely is, if you want to be the best team in the world, or you want to be the best league in the world, you need to have the best players in the world playing in your league, don't you?
Absolutely. And
yeah, but that's cyclical. That's cyclical where the best players in the world play.
It's been a long time since we've had anyone like Ronaldo and Messi.
This is the thing. We have a few teams like Manchester United, Chelsea, Man City, who have the money and are willing to pay it. We have Arsenal, my team, which has the money but don't want to spend it. Our owner is richer than any owner in the whole world. But there's activity in the market is really, really poor, like a mediocre team. And this is what annoys most Arsenal fans.
Well, I mean, you look at some of the amounts of money being spent, and you say that, say, for example, Arsenal, maybe to a lesser extent, Manchester City have spent, over £1 billion over the years. Manchester United the same. Chelsea probably the same as well. They've spent £1 billion collectively each, right? And yet they haven't signed the best players in the world. There's something wrong.
Yes, absolutely. There is something wrong.
Okay.
But,
Ismat, thanks a lot, mate.
Finally agreed with me that there is something wrong. How about this from Alex, who says, MG is spot on with the shirt sales. Beckham went to LA Galaxy and overnight Britain became coated in Beckham number 23 Galaxy shirts.
Yes.
Wake up, Porky. It's true.
No, that's
Loads of
Beckham,
people started
and that's
wearing
America,
Beckham.
and that's marketing. Nobody in China has ever heard of PSG, and they're not going to buy Neymar shirts.
That's rubbish.
They're not going to buy... OK... I mean, ask anybody in China on the streets of Peking, what colour is PSG's shirt?
Well, first of all, you'd have to say Beijing for a start, because otherwise they'd say, don't call us that because you're a colonial.
What colour is... So you go to Beijing and you stop them and say, do you like Neymar?
They don't
like
care.
Neymar.
As long as it's got Neymar on it, they don't mind.
Yeah, and what colour is PSG shirt? They wouldn't know.
Well, they might not know, but they'd still buy one.
They've never heard of PSG.
No, but they've heard of Neymar. That's my point. How can you not see that?
They'd think PSG was some kind of additive that goes into food because they're big in food in
That's
China.
actually MSG. They've got a lot of that in China.
What's that?
MSG.
MSG, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's the stuff that they keep out of the Chinese takeaways.
Yeah, it gives some people headaches.
Yeah, that's right. Is this not an MSG? Yeah, they used to ask me that all the time.
MSG or PSG?
In those white folded cardboard
well, if
boxes.
next time you go to the noodle shop, you can go, have you got any MSG in it? Hold up a picture of Neymar.
Yeah, that's right.
That might work.
Yeah, have you got any MSG? Yeah, OK. Have you ever heard of PSG? What? Yeah.
Steve the cabbie says, I'm at it again, guys, making my customers listen to the show. Bradley and his mates are off to Dalaman via Gatwick. Well, I hope you have a very nice time.
Well, I hope you don't
it doesn't
get stuck in queues.
Well, the queues are on the way back, though, you see.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Nuisance.
It is a damn nuisance.
It is, yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Yeah.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
LA woman, LA woman, LA woman, Sunday afternoon. LA woman, Sunday afternoon. LA woman, Sunday afternoon. Drive through your suburbs into your blues. Into your blues, yeah. Into your blues.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Loads coming up, including Porkyvision a little bit later on, and listography. So if you want to send us a few suggestions for listography, you know what to do. You can hashtag it listography, send it at the Two Mics. Emma says this, I honestly think PSG have gone mental. Why spend that money for Neymar when they could get Mbappe from a rival club for less?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but Mbappe isn't going to sell the kind of, shirt sales that he's going to that Neymar's going to do.
But he's going to be more useful as a footballer to PSG.
I don't agree.
Well,
he's a world superstar.
And
how about this? This is the kind of thing that depresses me to no end. JL, Premier League would make a lot of the so-called world-class players in foreign leagues look mediocre. That's why they play in Spain. I mean, come off it, JL, please. I mean, Neymar's an international Brazilian player. I think he's pretty damn good. And any club in the Premier League
but he's not the world's
would be happy to get him. Let's talk to Sophie Nicolau, who is, of course, the soccer diva.
Indeed.
She's watching for us the MLS All-Star game against Real Madrid. And Real Madrid right now are going to hate the fact that Barcelona are right in the centre of all of the publicity surrounding Neymar's transfer. Sophie, a very good morning to you.
Hey boys, how's it going?
Very well indeed, thank you.
We're getting quite worked up here about this whole Neymar situation because Porky says to me that Neymar and PSG is not a match made in heaven. It's a kind of a PR stunt. It's not actually going to result in him becoming the world's greatest footballer.
That's right.
But the bottom line is surely, and you'll know this from watching Real Madrid over there, it's put Barcelona right at the top of the agenda, PSG right at the top of the agenda, and Real Madrid will hate that.
I completely agree with you, Mike, because on the pre-season tour here in the US, I've found Real Madrid to be one of the most irrelevant teams of all the big teams that came here. I think Barcelona, obviously, with the Neymar situation, Manchester City, Manchester United, I think they all outshone Real Madrid. And for me, Real Madrid played and in their preparation looked like a team that was suffering from a double hangover. They had an incredibly successful season last year. And I don't know how good they're going to be this year. And I do think that they need... Gareth Bale looked really poor in pretty much every game that I saw him. And it's going to be interesting to see how they perform against the MLS All-Stars tonight. You've got David Villa, you've got Kaká, you've got Schweinsteiger, you've got Sebastian Giovinco, who for me is probably the biggest star in MLS now. And Barcelona have 220 sweet million euros that they can spend. Maybe they'll steal Mbappe. Anything's possible in football after what we've seen this week. And I think everyone's overreacting a little bit to the Neymar thing. And I don't hear Mike complaining about all the money Everton have spent this summer.
No, exactly.
No, of course I'm not complaining. We deserve to spend it. We've run our club brilliantly well over the last 10 years when it's been difficult. And we're now in pole position because of good husbandry. But what I just don't get, Sophie...
Why can't PSG spend that money?
Because PSG's money is free money. It's money given to them by their investors. It's money that they haven't earned. It's money that they haven't managed to acquire through a fantastically professional setup in the French league. They've just been given it by their owners, and so it's just false money. It's free money.
Haven't Manchester City been given money?
Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
Are we going to... I think it's really unfair, actually. I think, finally a player actually leaves Barcelona or Real Madrid to go to another club.
Yeah.
And granted, if someone is dangling €500,000 euros at you, you're going to earn it every single week. It's very difficult to say no to that.
Yeah.
Usually the shoe's on the other foot, and we're always complaining that Barcelona and Real Madrid are the ones that are stealing players. And here at PSG... I actually really believe that PSG want to become a force in football. It has failed for them, and they've never truly had that marquee signing other than Zlatan.
But they won't do it in France. They won't do it in France, though. Would you honestly believe that Neymar...
It's It's about the Champions League.
Yeah, well, they're not going to win it. They won't win it. And
you don't know that, though.
And France doesn't have enough persuasion in football. Do you honestly think Neymar will now become the world's best player just because he's moved to a club in Paris? I think it's a preposterous proposal.
I'm not saying he's going to become the world's best player.
Well, that's why he's going. That's why he's going.
He has more of an opportunity to potentially become one of the world's best players. Messi and Ronaldo are aging. They've got a lot of mileage on their clock. Neymar is a Brazilian superstar. He wears that hat very well. He acts like a star and he is a star, but he's also really super talented. And the only way he had an opportunity to win a Ballon d'Or or to become the best was to leave Barcelona. I think everyone's giving him a hard time for the wrong reason. Zlatan left Barcelona because he couldn't play with Messi. He wanted to be the main man too. And his legacy is actually a lot better post-Barcelona career than it was previous to
Exactly
that.
right. And also, surely, it would make no sense at all if all of the best players were concentrated in one place. And that's why I think it's a good thing for Neymar to leave Spain and get himself into a different league. I'd rather have seen him playing in the Premier League. For some reason, Porky doesn't want him here. I don't know why. He actually said earlier on, which proves to me that he's lost the plot, that he didn't want him at Everton because they couldn't afford to
Of course
pay him.
I wouldn't want him at Everton. It'd be so disruptive to the dressing room
What
to have
a
a
load
guy
of
like
rubbish.
that who's earning fantastical amounts of money. Well, I'm sorry. And it won't work at PSG.
Up until the fight the other day that broke out in Barcelona training, Neymar's been a pretty good teammate. I mean, and Suarez and Messi and he got on very well. Messi put his arms around him. He's been a pretty good guy as well as delivering on the pitch. And I agree with Mike. Having Neymar in Paris, Pogba at Manchester United, you've got new stars at City, you've got Eden Hazard at Chelsea, you've got Frank Ribery still, Robert Lewandowski, Arjen Robben at Bayern Munich. You've got a brand new superstar team at AC Milan. Hopefully they will rival Juventus. And you've got Ronaldo, Messi, Suarez in La Liga, Benzema as well. So I actually think the Champions League next year could be a little bit more exciting because of these new moves in the summer transfer market. And let's not kill a guy, who grew up pretty poor, right? And here's an opportunity for him to make a ton of... I don't see anyone complaining about Formula One drivers making a ton of money.
This is the thing.
I don't care how much money he makes, but he's in the wrong club. He's given up on football excellence.
But why do you care which club he's in? I mean, you've never been a great supporter of Barcelona.
Yeah.
You've never been a great supporter of foreign football, as you call it. Why would it make any difference to you whether he plays for PSG or, as you called it, MSG?
Because a footballer with his brain in the right place, like Ronaldo, seeks the epitome of excellence in his job. And Neymar has just decided to go to a second-rate club. So I think that's, just shows in his head that he's lost the plot.
So was Aguero second-rate and were Yaya Toure second-rate when they went to Manchester City, when they were the new kids with the money on the block?
Yep.
Did they go to a second-rate team in a second-rate league?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't, because Manchester City play in a very established league, and that's called the English Premier League. And in France, they do not have an established domestic league system. It's a very much a wasteland. It's barren, French domestic football, as you well know, because apart from PSG and Monaco, you haven't got any teams.
Well, Monaco beat Manchester City, didn't they, last year?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Team to watch in Europe last year. Which was the most exciting team?
Well, in Europe last year, Monaco.
Yeah, from the barren league of Ligue 1.
Yes, and what's happening now, Sophie? To all Monaco's best players? They're all being bought and going somewhere else, outside of France.
There'll be new stars that emerge at Monaco this season. That's their philosophy. They can do that. And, they actually need the money to survive and be able to reinvest in their team as well. But they knocked PSG with all their money off their perch. And PSG still have good players. You've got Verratti there. Barcelona are after Verratti, someone they're looking at to potentially replace Neymar. Actually, is a bit better than people think. Nice played some phenomenal football last season. Very exciting. I just think it's a little bit unfair.
Yeah, but it was in France and nobody cares. How many people around the world subscribe to the French domestic league?
I've got a picture, by the way,
Nobody.
here. I've got a picture. I've got a picture here, Porky, because you're such a sort of a hater of all things foreign. There's a picture of the Cantonese PSG supporters club.
Oh, really?
A load of people holding up PSG shirts.
How many members they got? 3.
They've got quite a lot more than that, actually. There's a billion people in China. You can't dismiss them.
No. I'm sorry. It's all.
Fair few after the signing. They'll have a fair few fans. Neymar's going to sell a ton of shirts. He's going to put PSG on the map, just like Manchester City did with their superstar signings. Manchester City were nothing before the new investment. When was the last time City were relevant? When Franny Lee played and Dennis Law? And they're a new money team, right? They're not Manchester United. They don't have the cachet, the pedigree of Manchester United, but they're developing a new history, right? Yeah. And they've done it with superstar players. So I think that PSG could potentially do that too. Now, is it a two-team league right now?
No, you get PSG are Blackburn Rovers all over again. It'll happen for about 2 or 3 years, then everybody
Paris
will lose.
Is a slightly more sophisticated place than Blackburn.
Everybody will lose interest, and it'll just fade away. Believe me, a lot of it is to do with geopolitical reasons and money. Believe me,
a lot of it is to do with prejudice as well. Let me ask you this question, Sophie. An awful lot of things were sort of waiting around on the movement or non-movement of Neymar. If Neymar is now going to go, which looks likely, is that going to increase the likelihood of other players now going to PSG, like Alexis Sanchez?
Never. The domino effect is massive here. The domino effect in terms of who else goes to PSG and then who potentially goes to Barcelona. They're talking about Verratti. I've heard Angel Di Maria's name thrown around. Obviously, he's international teammates with Messi. So that could be of interest to Barcelona. Alexis Sanchez, the noise is that he really wants to move to Manchester City. Wenger continues to dig in his heels. He refuses to sell him. PSG's an option. They'll pay him the $400,000 that he wants every week. Bayern Munich seem to be out of the mix when it comes to Alexis Sanchez. So really, we've got Mbappe, Sanchez, Verratti, Angel Di Maria being mentioned now. It's going to be really interesting to see what the effect is with Neymar now having gone to PSG. And wow, I mean, it is a lot of money. And we were going to get there eventually, but we broke the 200 million euro barrier before we even broke the 100 million euro barrier. It's amazing.
It really is. It's fantastic. Now, this All-Star game, we've only got about 30 seconds, Sophie. The All-Star game gets underway shortly in Chicago. It's going to be one of those kind of friendly type games. But as you say, Real Madrid are going to want to try and get themselves back at the top of the kind of pecking order here, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely, boys. I saw Real Madrid play Manchester City, and they were shredded in that game at the LA Coliseum. Kevin De Bruyne destroyed them, and I think they need a result tonight. I know it's a friendly, but I think that if they lose to an MLS All-Star team, it's kind of embarrassing for them, regardless of the fact that Schweinsteiger, Villa, and Kaká are playing, and Sebastian Giovinco, as I said earlier in the night. I think it might be a tough season, I say, for Real Madrid. I don't think they're going to be as dominant next year. And without Ronaldo, they really do look like they're missing the eggs from the omelette.
They really do. That's the problem. Thank you very much indeed. Sophie Nicolau, the soccer diva.
Sophie.
I think she's got a new YouTube channel out, which I meant to talk to her about.
Oh, right.
But we ran out of space and we ran out of time. But we'll get to that coming up very, very shortly here on Talk. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. I mean, I'm astonished that you've picked up on this lacrosse problem because it's quite a vicious game, lacrosse. I've never played it. Oh, yeah, really vicious.
Really?
It's a bit like hockey.
Yeah.
When you play field hockey.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fights that go on, a lot of, sort of whacking of the thighs and whacking of the legs and all that.
Yeah.
Lacrosse is similarly. They used to play it in America quite a bit in some of the sort of, what do you call the Ivy League
That's right, yeah, they did.
scenarios,
Yeah, that's right.
And it's
Princeton and all sorts of places like that.
Quite vicious, yeah.
Well, I mean, this comes to me because one of my journals reports that the traditions that are dying out in this country, and I do honestly believe that with all the money that government deals with, giving away $12.7 billion to overseas countries where dictators then take it and buy Rolls Royces and build palaces.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a generalisation, I know.
It
but
is a bit of a generalisation.
It certainly happens in some countries,
It
okay?
does, yes.
I mean, I've just read today we're giving £80 million to Brazil.
Yes.
The 9th biggest economy in the world, to help fund
Well,
some...
for a while they were the 5th biggest economy in the
they
world.
were, to help fund some social projects over there. But some of the things that are dying out in this country, which should receive government aid, are these. We're down to the last one sort of makers of all these things, okay?
Okay.
Cricket ball making.
Right.
Gold beating.
Gold beating?
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, that's, when you bash a bit of gold down flat
Want to make it into gold flake or something?
Yeah, gold flake, something like that, yeah.
Really?
Lacrosse stick making.
Yeah.
Sieve and riddle making.
Sieve and riddle making?
Well, a sieve is sometimes called a riddle because
Is it?
it's,
I didn't know
because
that.
you shake it and
Right.
it's what the panhandlers used to
Okay.
take to...
I used a sieve earlier because I was making some noodles.
I saw that on the
Did you like look at that? I made
social
some
network.
really nice...
Well, it looked exotic.
It's a
it
new,
wasn't for me, but
it's
it looked very
well,
exotic.
no, I mean, you like Chinese food, though. I mean, I've now... Because it's one of the...
Yeah, but you put garlic in it, didn't you?
I didn't, actually, no.
Oh, didn't you?
No
Okay,
garlic. There was ginger in it. There was lemon.
Yeah, well,
there
that's a bit fierce on the tongue, ginger.
What, ginger? You
Yeah.
don't like ginger?
Well, it's a bit fierce on the tongue.
Well, yeah, but if you cook it, it's I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very proud of the fact that I've now, I think, I wouldn't say I've mastered, but I have now
Yeah.
learned how to cook Chinese food.
Yeah, well,
Which I
it's-
never used to know how to do.
Sounds good. Now, some others which are critically endangered. Clay pipe making.
Clay pipes.
Yeah, clog making. Only one company
Clog
left in
making.
Rochdale that make clogs.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, where are they going to get their clogs from now?
Well, I
You
don't
go, you know where you can
Penny.
get clogs? You go to Schiphol Airport.
Yeah,
They
Schiphol,
sell
get
loads
your
and loads of clogs.
Yeah, I saw a mouse where they're on just there. This all comes from a report by the Heritage Crafts Association.
Okay.
Examined 169 crafts to find those at greatest risk. The other one is, when you see these great Shire horses?
Yes.
And they have, like, huge collars around their necks
Yes.
to pull the ploughs
Yes.
and all that. The last company making horse collars...
Are they drays? Are they called drays?
No, the drays are the ones that pull the brewery wagons.
Yes, but aren't they the same kind of horses?
Well,
though?
they are cart horses, yes,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right, yeah. So there's only one company left making horse collars.
Right. Because that used to be, I used to get sometimes stuck behind the Young's beer, which is a beer
Yes.
we quite like, you and I.
Yes.
And it's sold quite well around London.
Yep.
They used to have you used to get sometimes stuck behind the Young's cart horses.
Oh, I see,
as
yeah,
they
yeah.
were delivering the beer
Sure,
to various
sure.
pubs, you know.
Sure. The only company left making them is a lady called Kate Hetherington.
Oh, yeah.
She's 38. She lives in Dulverton in Somerset, and she says to get the collar the exact size and shape to fit a horse is quite an art. And so you have to fit them round the horse to make them comfortable. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Pretty skillful, that,
I would imagine so.
Right, other ones, Devon Maund making.
What kind of making?
Maund, M-A-U-N-D, Maund
I
making.
don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. I'm going
Okay.
to look that up, okay?
I'll look it up, yeah.
Yeah, look that up. Fan making. We're not making any handmade fans anymore.
No.
Hat block making. That's making a block on which you make a hat. Do you see what I mean? A milliner's block.
What, so you would have almost like a mannequin type
Yes, that's
thing?
right.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. Paper marbling.
Am I taking this view that these things are being made overseas, elsewhere, or they're just not being made at all?
They're being made by like one or just very, very few companies. Hat blocks, horse collars, pianos. Making pianos is going out of fashion in this country.
All right.
Tanning, spade making. We don't make any spades in this country anymore. We have to import them all.
Oh, here we go. I've got one for Devon Maund making. The making of Devon Maunds is an assembled basket made of wooden
Well,
splints
there you go, you see.
fixed to a wooden base.
There you go.
So it's basket making, basically.
Yeah, that's right. And I do, I hate to see these beautiful English crafts, British crafts, I suppose, because a lot of people in the Highlands make like all sorts of things, don't they?
Well, why are they all dying out? Presumably there's nobody's buying them.
Not that nobody's buying them. It's just they're being overtaken by technology and progress. And if you can import them for 1/10 of the price from Taiwan, then what's the point in spending 3 months making a horse collar here if you get it sent from overseas?
I think that's very
That's
true.
the point.
I think that's very true.
Yeah.
Now, you'll be pleased to know that I think we may have found a lithography.
Oh, right, okay.
This one is coming from Phil.
Yes.
I quite like it, and
Yeah.
you may decide or not whether you like it.
Okay.
If you were to win big on the Euro Millions, what would be the first 3 big things you'd do?
Okay,
What
I like
about
that. Yeah, I like that.
I quite like that.
I like that,
Should
yeah.
we do that?
What time are we going to do that?
We could do it, I don't know, 3:05 or something.
Yeah, in about an hour's time. Yeah, something like that. Yes, okay,
So
yes.
give you enough time to get it together.
Yeah, I'll put some thought to that one.
All right.
Now, getting back to just touching on football for a little bit.
Yes.
Now, you know who Darren Gibson is?
I do. Wasn't he in a bit of trouble earlier in the week because he got, shall we say, after they got slaughtered by Sunderland, got slaughtered by Celtic.
That's right, Celtic reserves.
He was to be found in a bar. Yeah,
he got bladderated.
Getting bladderated, talking and noising off about his teammates.
He actually said to a video camera, "We are," and then described his players as the worst possible terms.
Not a good word.
Yeah, and then the players don't give an effing.
He basically said they were rubbish.
Yeah. I mean, but in very foul language.
Yeah.
But anyway, you'll be delighted to say he's made a statement. I want to assure Sunderland fans I don't have a drink problem.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, Darren.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And Sir Alex Ferguson would never have allowed that when he played for Man United.
No, that's right. And he's backed up by his boss, Simon Grayson, the man who I said was completely unsuited for the role of running Sunderland Football Club. And Mr. Grayson says, we had a long, hard chat, and it was a question I asked him. I said, if you need help, son, with anything, then the football club and other people will do what is required to help people along this way. Now, footballers, you know, can get into trouble with alcohol, gambling and other addictions.
Aye.
But he has assured me, as Darren, there are no problems. He hasn't got no problems. And it won't happen again.
Well, what he hasn't said, though, is whether he still actually believes and agrees with what he said in the first place, which is that the team are rubbish. Because you have to say, the one thing that he came out with, which was true, is that they are rubbish.
They are rubbish, yeah.
So why would he have to deny that?
Mr. Grayson goes on to reveal, you know, a thought from a football manager. It's not a situation you encourage, you know, for any player to be drinking before a game.
Well, it was after a game, wasn't it?
No, it's before the next game, though. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
That's down to the responsibility. I mean, I can't be with him 24/7, can I? Ultimately, it's going to cost him a lot of money.
Is this what he sounds like, by the way, Simon Grayson?
Yes, he does, yeah.
Does he?
Yeah. Yeah, and his reputation is in tatters to a certain degree.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say to a certain degree, mate.
Well,
he rubbished off his teammates in the most foul-mouthed attack while he was bladderated on drink.
Yes.
I wouldn't say that was a certain degree.
And do you think not that the players in the team would not be very happy with him? So presumably, you know, the damage has now been done. When he walks
what about the dressing room?
Well, when he walks in the dressing room, they're not going to go, "Hey, Darren, how you doing, man?"
Yeah, how are you, pal?
Yeah, it's all right, mate. You know, I said you were all a bunch of complete and utter idiots,
That's
you know.
right, yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I think I'll tell you, Sunderland are just a wreck. But listen...
Well, they're, of course, part of our fantastic new coverage. Like 500 matches, which we are covering live.
Exactly.
Including Sunderland against Derby on Friday night.
So I'll tell you the other one. I saw the new Hull manager, the Russian Leonid Slutsky.
Slutsky, yes.
And Mr.
We like
Slutsky
him. Great name.
Mr. Slutsky, Mr. Slutsky has gone on the crash English course to learn the English. He now speaks very well and says, I like the English and everything, but I mean, I'm telling you, two teams that are going down. Sunderland, I think, could go down from the Championship to the, but Hull are bound to go down. Well, Mr. Slutsky, do you know what he looks like? He looks like he might have escaped, and this is cruel.
It may well be cruel.
From the Moscow State Circus.
Yes.
I mean, he's that sort of guy.
Okay.
You know,
but he's had some quite big jobs in football, though, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, but not in this country, only in sort of Russia and the Eastern Bloc.
Of course not in this country, but there's nothing necessarily bad about that.
But I don't want to be unkind to Mr. Slutsky, but he's a very ebullient character, and he's full of fun and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And he will light up the Premier League, but
if nothing else, he's going to be a guy that you can enjoy taking the mickey out of because of the way he speaks.
Yes.
I mean, listen to what we had with
have learnt the English.
With Ian Holloway. Who are you at the weekend? When he said, we know where we're going.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing.
That's right.
But we've got a new policy here at QPR where we don't buy any players.
Yeah, you know.
Who are you?
Remember that?
Yeah, we ain't buying no Tom, Dick or Harry.
Yeah, fancy Dan's.
Fancy Dan's here.
We don't want any of them.
No.
By the way, the MLS All-Star game is underway.
Improve the team.
Yeah,
right?
what we might do is find some audio clips of some of these managers and see whether your impressions are anywhere near them.
Well,
we'll come back with those.
We will.
Coming up very, very shortly. But it's 0-0 over in Chicago. The MLS All-Stars 0, Real Madrid 0. This is TalkSport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on TalkSport and Talk Radio.
What Darren said wasn't right, and the manner that he spoke about fellow colleagues. But ultimately, he said it. We've dealt with the situation, and we've always said that if players don't want to be at this football club, whether Darren's talking about certain individuals, then I don't want players here anywhere.
I think that sounds quite similar to your impersonation
exactly.
of him.
And he does sound hapless, doesn't he, the poor lad? You know,
Well, I mean,
Simon, because I think
you've got it in for Simon Grayson. You've said that this is a guy who's never going to be a success at Sunderland on the grounds that he can't get them up into the Premier League because he's never got anybody up into the Premier League. But he's got teams promoted from other leagues, so why shouldn't he work there?
I think Sunderland's too big a club for him, honestly. And I've got nothing against Mr. Grayson, but I mean, he's a solid, salt-of-the-earth, hard-working manager.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has the skills required to,
What should he have
operate
done?
in the Premier League, and therefore he'll never get there.
If it was down to you, right, would you have taken Darren Gibson out and said, right, you are no longer a Sunderland player?
Absolutely.
You have basically broken the unwritten law. You have slagged off your teammates.
Yeah.
You have brought the club into disrepute. You're out.
Do you know
Is that
what
what you would have done?
Yeah, I would. You know what the danger is? This happens in football. A group of other players in the dressing room will say, don't pass to him.
Yeah.
And that then has wrecked all your team plans.
That's true.
And that's what they'll do.
Right.
Because, you go public. I mean, imagine if, for instance, you and I went out and got bladderated and then started mouthing off about our TalkSport colleagues.
That would be shocking.
It'd be absolutely shocking.
We'd never do anything like that.
And we wouldn't want to work with them. They wouldn't want to work with us.
No.
It would cause terrible tension and bad
It would be awful.
ill will. It would be shocking.
No.
And that's why we don't do
We're
those
too
sort of
professional
things.
for that sort of
Yeah,
behaviour.
exactly, yeah.
What about Monsieur Slutsky? Let's have a word with him.
Yeah.
Now it's a very difficult time, but very exciting time. Yes, I really enjoy this time. Of course, we have some problems with new players because it's a normal situation when team was relegated. It's not easy. It's a keep all squad, but I think we have some new players and we are waiting minimum 5 players more.
Now, I think he sounds very sophisticated. He doesn't sound Russian at all.
Oh, he sounds very Russian.
No, he sounds like a guy who has spent a lot of time in Europe.
Yeah.
He probably speaks about 4 languages.
Yeah.
I think you're doing him a disservice by making him out to be a kind of Vladimir Putin puppet type.
I'm convinced. Anyway, look, I've got some great news from my medical journals.
Have you?
A groundbreaking tool.
Oh, yeah? Is that what you call yourself these days?
That's a bit harsh, isn't it? Yeah. Bit harsh. A groundbreaking tool, according to my health report, has been used to wipe out a genetic mutation causing heart failure.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Well, this will come as great news to you then.
Well, this is it, but it's a bit too late for me. Now,
What do you mean too late?
Well, I have dilated cardiomyopathy.
No, I don't think you have anymore.
No, I have.
Well,
honestly.
I've seen the documents where it says that your heart is actually getting better. You've gone from 33% to 49%.
Yeah, but that's mind over matter. And that's my sheer will
that
power.
may well be, but who can say that maybe the next time, in the next, say, year or two, the next report says you've gone from 49% to 63%?
No, I could have dropped back to 33%.
Well,
I'll
you
never
could have
go
done.
higher than I am now.
Well, you don't know that.
Anyway, listen to this.
Go on.
So I have dilated cardiomyopathy.
Yeah.
Now, it says here, scientists have altered nuclear DNA in human embryos so they would not develop hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Now, this is the one where you just drop dead suddenly, you know what I mean?
Oh, is it? Oh, God.
We had some very unfortunate reports of this to particularly to young people over the years. It's a very tragic disease. But the problem is that it has a 50% chance of being passed on to your next generation, as my father passed on cardiomyopathy
Well, you
to
don't
me.
have to worry about that, do you? 'Cause you've got nobody to pass it on to.
Well, that's absolutely true. But it says it's the first time gene editing tool, I don't know why they call it a tool, which is known as CRISPR-Cas9, has been used to fix a common inherited disease. It's
So what's the news here then?
Well, the news is that what they're saying is that they can remove the possibility of a cardiomyopathy disease, which ruins hearts, being passed on to the next generation.
Oh, you mean it's like a gene
That's right. That's right.
breakthrough.
That's right. Which is a very good thing, and I have to say, when I receive reports like that, and I do because I'm a supporter of many heart charities, it raises my spirits enormously.
Does it?
Yes.
I'll tell you something that I thought you would mention up until now, but you haven't mentioned it, and we're almost an hour and a half into the show.
Yes.
Is the final Battle of Britain Spitfire pilot. Who died yesterday, aged 99, described as a true gentleman.
Oh, I mean, he was
Ken Wilkinson.
Yeah, he's such a lovely guy.
What a character.
He's a tremendous character, and he was one of the few, as you quite rightly say.
Yes.
What we don't understand is that when you're 18 and you climb into a Spitfire, and those machines were pretty huge, in terms of what you were taking up into the air with you. One man, one boy, aged 18. And remember, you couldn't see where you were going because the Spitfire pointed up.
Yeah.
So what you did is your wingmen just turned the plane round, and you just had to keep in a straight line
Do you mean
to
when
take
you're
off.
on the ground?
When on the ground, you couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
There was a mirror position just above your cockpit, which showed you the ground in front of you immediately to show there was nothing on it, but you didn't actually know where you were going. You just took off.
But once you're in the air, you could see.
Of course you could. That's why the plane was designed like that. When the wheels came up, it was flat, if you see what I mean, where it's pointing up when it's on the ground. But, this guy was so typical. Joined the RAF at the outbreak of the war in 1939, chose to fly Spitfires. He went to 616 and 19 Squadron in East Anglia and then helped to protect crucial industrial targets in the Midlands from the Luftwaffe. He said, I didn't carry any Lucky Charms, but I did wear a pair of my wife's knickers around my neck. Oh, that's nice to know.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you like those kind of details.
Yeah. He said, I was one of the lucky ones. He said, I saw friends fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
I saw their aircraft go up in flames. There were terrible things to witness. But he said that Winston Churchill said in the 1940s, never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
Yeah.
But some of the few, who are my friends, paid the price.
They did.
Terrifically.
I mean, I was watching a report on the news earlier on tonight, and it said that of the people that took part in the Battle of Britain, they didn't all die in the Battle of Britain, but over the course of the war.
Oh, that's right.
50% of the Spitfire pilots never came back.
That's right, yeah.
But the thing I liked about him was that he said also, he was born in Barrow-in-Furness, by the way, and became a chartered surveyor.
Yeah.
One of the things that they said about him after the war, whenever you saw pictures of him, either with Prince Charles or with the Duke of Edinburgh, various other people, he always had a glass of red wine in his hand.
Yeah,
he always had a glass of red wine.
That's right, yeah.
He was a massive fan of a glass of claret.
Yes, that's right.
What a terrific guy.
Oh, terrific guy. I mean, what can you say? I've always said that if you can go back in history and, you could go to another era, I would honestly want to go back and be a Spitfire pilot because it must be the greatest contribution you could have made to your country ever, in my view.
Well, supposedly,
because the odds were so overwhelming.
Yes, but I mean, would you really want to go back and be part of something that was so horrible, which it was in the end?
Yeah,
I
I would, because my father fought in it.
In a war is not a nice thing to be in.
I mean, generally speaking, I know we have terror to cope with in the modern era, and during our lifetimes, that's been quite prominently present, really, with the IRA and obviously the things we face now. But as a generation, I mean, we haven't fought a war. We haven't had anybody, pouring bombs on us from the sky or anything like that.
No, but I mean, we've had plenty of incursions, shall we say, if you're a member of the armed forces.
Oh, yes.
Where people have been killed in dangerous situations.
But they've been overseas. It hasn't attacked the mainland, so to speak, mostly. And so we're a lucky generation. So, when you think that the First World War happened to one generation, the Second World War to another, we've been the lucky ones, I suppose.
Now, here's a couple of texts and tweets on the subject of the managers you were talking about.
Yes.
Mr. Slutsky says, Alan, you should have empathy with him, as he also suffers from having a dodgy heart.
Oh, is he?
So you didn't know that?
Oh, I didn't know that, no.
Another texter says, did you know that Leonid Slutsky has a weird habit of constantly rocking backwards and forwards while sitting on the bench?
Yeah.
And We Are Leeds says, Porky, you'll be waiting a while to listen to the whole manager in the Premier League. They're in the Championship.
Yeah,
well,
really?
we knew that.
Yeah.
Well, they got relegated.
Who?
Relegated, or as Mr. Slutsky
Oh, yeah, of course he did. Then he went down.
Yeah, well, of course you knew that, right?
Yeah.
Now,
what I was going to say is, I've just had a note here from Andrew. He says, quite amazing, Porky. Today I was at the funeral of a co-worker whose husband died from the sudden heart failure condition you've just been talking about.
Really?
Amazing. Yeah. Well, I think you have to highlight these things because, we've got to be aware of the fact that these can happen, and research has to go on to try and stop it happening.
Very true.
And Bruce says, Porky, your grace and voice was superb. Thank you very much indeed.
OK. Here's one from Jim, who says, one thing I admire about Mr. Slutsky is that he spent a year over here learning the language and the British game. He's not a Capello type.
Yeah, OK. Well, the Capello thing was a disgrace. In all the years he was here and took 14 million quid over 5 years, never learned to speak English.
Yeah, but that was the fault of the FA.
It was.
I mean, if you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I mean, if the FA came to you and said, we're going to give you £1 million a year to redefine our communication strategy, you're not going to go, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. You're going to go, OK, ship it in. Give me £1 million a year. I will make fun of you. I will take the money. I will do my best. But in the end, you know that it's not going to work.
Yeah, well,
because the place is run by a collection of planks.
I agree to a certain extent, but I still think that your own self-respect means that you should present yourself at work in a proper and fit state to work, and that means speaking English. Now, Luxury Lizzie, who's a regular correspondent,
indeed,
she says, 2 mics, funny, Premier League champions, you never mentioned, we are the champions, peeps love to watch us. I think Everton are going to finish 7th. So she's talking about...
She's a Chelsea fan,
Chelsea fan, obviously, talking about Chelsea, and Everton are going to finish higher than 7th. I just thought I'd let you know that. Who's peeps?
Hey?
We are the champions.
Peeps.
Peeps love
Well, it's
to watch
short
us.
for people, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
If
I
you
suppose,
say,
yeah.
look here, Peeps.
Yeah,
you
well,
know.
as a master of the English language, I don't recognise
It's like short
abbreviations
form
like
abbreviations. For example, if somebody says, Mike Parry's totes cool, it means he's totally cool, man.
Yes,
Not that
yes.
anybody would say that, obviously.
Yes, it says here, by the way, David says, you could be right about revenue from Thailand and China.
Yes.
Problem is, out there, they sell unofficial merchandise, not the club official merchandise.
They do that
so
as well.
it won't show in the figures.
Well, they also sell that here.
Yes.
You know, the Chelsea and Manchester United and Manchester City shirts that you sometimes see being
Yes.
worn in this country have been made in China illegally. That's just the way it goes.
I remember a guy used to sell pictures outside.
by the way.
I think I've told you, haven't I? Outside Highbury, of like Ray Parlour and people like that signed.
Yeah.
And one day, some guy from Arsenal turned up, closed his stall down, and said, "You can't sell these.
Yeah.
We're now into official
Well, it's the
merchandise."
same with like rock bands and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
All of you when you went to see a band at Wembley,
Yeah.
and you'd be buying a T-shirt on the way up.
That's right.
They'd all get arrested.
That's right.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, coming up next, LaDonna Harvey is going to join us from San Diego. She's going to bring us the latest news in the showbiz world, and she's going to be telling us what she's been up to of late. This is
Okay,
TalkSport.
okay.
On the stereo, listen as we go. Nothing's gonna stop me now. California, here we come. Right back where we started from. A pedal to the floor, thinking of the war. Gotta get us to the show. California, here we come. Right back where we started from.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics, and I have to tell you, Mr. Parry, very excited about the next section of the show where we get to talk to LaDonna Harvey,
Excellent.
who tweeted out earlier on today that she was going to be coming on the two mic show. She described it as the threesome that dare not speak its name.
Yes.
Hey? What do you think of that?
The threesome
You're
that
not
dared
listening,
speak
are you?
his name. I'm listening.
For heaven's sake, would you listen?
Yeah, of
the
course I'm
threesome that dare not speak its name. LaDonna, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Morning,
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we haven't spoken for quite a long time. I blame Porky for not asking for your presence before now.
Porky, I thought you loved me.
I do love you. I do love you, Donna. And the only reason that we haven't been able to have you on the show before now is because you're in demand over there. So it's lovely that you've managed to find a bit of space for us. Thank you very much indeed.
Right.
I get so tired of talking to this low-faced, dead-brain co-presenter of mine, and it's good to have somebody with a bit of intelligence on the show. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, cheers.
Now, what's
Thank
all
you.
this about old George Clooney, eh? Getting, all sorts of precious about his children.
Yeah, well, apparently somebody has posted some pictures of his twins, Alexander and Ella, his precious babies. And, they're very fragile and delicate, as almost no babies are. So apparently he is very unhappy about it. The Diocci of Italy, he says, took illegal photographs of him and his family at their palatial, they call it their home in Lake Como. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of it. It's a palace that they live in.
Yes, exactly.
And that's a very long lens to get anywhere near the kids because they're about half a mile away from anywhere the public can go, aren't they?
Yeah, they have to climb. You have to climb over a fence and just do all kinds of stuff to get there, which just seems like too damn much work to me for a couple of babies, frankly.
Well, indeed. I mean, Mr. Parry and I used to engage in that sort of behaviour back in the days of the 80s when it was not illegal to be a paparazzi. But, of course, we don't do that kind of thing anymore. We frankly haven't got the physique.
Yeah, neither do I. I look at a fence and I go, well, I'm not going there.
No, you're exactly right. Now, talking about where you want to go, I have to say, I was surprised when you sent me a tweet the other day expressing a desire to come and ride on this bizarre sort of underground train that they've discovered now it should be open to the public. Some kind of old-fashioned Royal Mail train as part of the old-fashioned London Underground system.
Wow.
Yes, I'm so excited by it because I swear to God I'm going to ride on that stupid little train. I don't know why. I just looked at that wee tiny gauge train and went, I need to ride that now.
It is. I mean,
it's so exciting.
They have discovered quite a lot of interesting things in the underground now, and there is a bit like that James Bond film. What's the one where it's a Skyfall, isn't it? Where they have the underground map of London.
Oh, that's right.
And there's all sorts of stuff going on down there. And because they're now building a new train underneath there, they've discovered all kinds of Roman artifacts. It's quite an exciting thing. So next time you come over, we'll have to take you down into the vaults of the underground.
I would love that. You guys, I get to go explore the underground of London with the two mics.
That's right.
Only two of us will come back. Three of us will go down.
Yeah.
One of us will not return.
That's right. And in fact, it is the anniversary today of the opening of the first London Underground station, which was Tower.
Tower?
Yeah, Tower.
What, as in Tower Hill?
That's right, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
where the bridge is?
That's right, yeah. That was the first one, and that linked to, a bit later, to Embankment, which was the second.
Okay.
Yeah, which went along these...
Well, there's not much point in opening an underground system. There's only one station.
Well, no, but of course, you get down there and you find where it goes. It went to Embankment.
Okay.
I thought I'd let you know, OK?
All right.
Now then, what's happening in La La Land, LaDonna? Because, we need a bit of scandal to keep us going over here. Is David Beckham upsetting people all over the place again?
Well, only if he's actually wearing clothes.
Yeah?
As long as he's bare-chested and he doesn't say a word, he is just fine.
Yeah, I thought I read this morning that he'd been upsetting people by taking pictures of them, putting them out on his Facebook and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, really? I thought that was one of his boys doing that.
Was it one of his boys? Yeah, it could be. But, I mean, that's the problem. You talked about George Clooney, you talk about David Beckham, and their offsprings really do think that they have a special position in life, don't they? Because that's the thing. That's the way their parents interpret their offspring.
Sure. I mean, and I guess in one way they kind of do.
Yeah.
They're a lot more public than you or I.
Yes.
Although I would put it to you that you guys probably have trouble going into your neighborhood pub these days. But
Porky has trouble leaving the neighbourhood pub, not so much going in as getting out.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've come out of more than one pub supine.
That's right. Yeah.
So I can definitely feel your pain.
Absolutely.
But we live in an era where there is no privacy for anybody. Good luck with all that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And privacy is a precious thing. And stars who moan about privacy. I was just thinking about the George Clooney thing. I wonder whether, and I'm not making this as an allegation against Mr. Clooney, but sometimes these stars complain about people taking pictures of their children because they've actually got a magazine deal to sell the pictures for $3.5 million.
Well, that's
what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you can't take pictures of them unless you're paying for it, basically, I think is the thing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm excited about the world of electric cars and Elon Musk, right? Porky is not quite so excited about it, but I understand that, I think in the last 24 hours, in the Nevada desert, the dream of Elon Musk to start this Hyperloop, where, as Porky once described it, a pod is sucked from one end of the tunnel to the other at a very high speed, right? Has apparently happened. And so we're now a step closer to this kind of mode of transportation, aren't we?
It's very Jetsons-like. It reminds me of the cartoons from the 50s where we had the flying cars and all the stuff that we don't have now.
Right.
But yeah, he's really moving forward with a lot of different ideas. And one of the things that they were doing is here in California, they're building a high-speed rail, and he came out and said, "What are you people, stupid? That's not the future of transportation. This is." And then he showed everybody the Hyperloop, and we all went, I think I just fainted. It's fabulous.
It is amazing, isn't it?
Tubes they used to use in the Post.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing floats, right? It's like it moves because of magnetic force, and there's no rails involved, there's no wheels involved. I mean, it's quite revolutionary.
It really is. The guy is brilliant, and you know what? If I was able to get as much money from the government as he is, I would be brilliant too.
Mm-hmm. Well, indeed. And I mean, as Porky said, I mean, imagine how marvellous it would be to be sucked all the way from Leeds to Manchester in a space of less than 18 minutes.
That would be fantastic. That would be wonderful. I've never been to Manchester.
Really?
That's right. Well, don't go today. It's raining. It rains most of the time in Manchester. Now, LaDonna, obviously Game of Thrones, biggest show in the world. I've never seen it because I don't like the monsters in it. That disturbs me.
Right.
But apparently they've suffered a cyber attack. Now, what's all this? And I mean, we spent most of our life as reporters trying to go around stealing the plots of forthcoming shows in this country, like Coronation Street and EastEnders. But stealing the plot of Game of Thrones is on another level. But somebody's tried it, haven't they?
They've tried it, and they may have actually gotten some scripts and some episodes, which really bums me out because we're in the second to last season.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying every moment of it. I love the monsters, and I especially love all the sex.
Right.
Because somebody should be having some.
Well, I mean, crikey, that's a bit of an admission, isn't it, LaDonna? I hope you're not suffering over there, from lack of attention. I mean, that's something we.
I don't think she should get involved in that kind of conversation. It's a family show. This.
Well, LaDonna brought it up, didn't she?
Also, LaDonna, she does
so
the breakfast.
sorry.
She does the breakfast show, so there's a little less chance for horizontal refreshment when you have to work those kind of hours. Difficult.
Come on now, come
true.
on. We're not getting into that, are we?
Well, look at Brazil. I'm sorry, I don't want to mention Alan Brazil, but it is. It's difficult for him as well.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. These things.
Anyway,
happen.
listen, LaDonna, what's the big story in San Diego? You've lost the Chargers now. I mean, what are you going to do at the weekends? There's nothing to watch, is there?
Well, there's no football to watch,
right.
but they're trying to bring an English football team here. Actually, not an English football team. They're trying to bring a soccer team here.
Are they?
But of course, we would have to actually build them a stadium because, as per usual, the stadium we have is a complete piece of garbage. It's a steaming pile, and it needs to be torn to the ground. But everybody's making a land grab, so we may just end up with more university. Woohoo!
Oh, great. So they're actually going to knock the stadium down because I think we saw that they're going to get another team in LA now, a soccer team, aren't they, with Bob Bradley at the helm.
Yes. LA gets everything.
Yeah.
We hate them for that reason. They get all of the stuff.
Well, I mean, that's where all the money is, isn't it, really?
Exactly.
There's some Elon Musk maybe vacationed here once, maybe.
Okay, well, maybe you'll build you a little tunnel and you can get sucked through it.
Yeah,
what about
absolutely.
What about the latest news on your vet? Have you still got that? Have you still got the Corvette?
Oh, of course I do love it. It's fantastic.
Porky's thinking of getting a new car. I think you should recommend that he gets one.
Yeah, Little Red Corvette. I like that. That was a Prince song, wasn't it? Little Red Corvette. Da, da, da,
Please don't
da,
sing
da,
that.
No,
wow.
Yours is blue, isn't it?
Mine is blue.
Yeah.
It's night race blue metallic, and it's a rocket. It's a rocket propelled grenade. It's fantastic.
Tremendous. And you haven't got any speeding tickets lately?
No, and knock on wood. Hold on, there's a gate here. Knock on wood. I don't want any because I can't afford that car.
No,
of
course
not.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Are you aware of some row going on, LaDonna, about Madonna and her brother, by the way? Apparently they don't get on very well, and he keeps writing books describing her as a dreadful person.
Really?
Yeah. She keeps moaning about it, but I wasn't even aware she had a brother.
You know what? He's written a couple of books about her, and they haven't gotten along in years, so I don't know why today would be special. And if she was your sister, wouldn't you try to make some money off of her?
No, I wouldn't.
Especially if she was, in fact, a terrible person.
No, I wouldn't, honestly. I'd think, there's a bit of family honour there. I mean, the fact she's worth about $200 million or something, I would go to my sister and say, look, unless you give me $1 million, I'm going to write the book, That would be my approach.
Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt.
He's a man of very high principle,
Yeah,
Paul.
exactly.
He wouldn't do anything that was untoward.
Exactly.
Anyway, listen, LaDonna, absolutely marvellous to talk to you, as ever. We'll be catching up with you, I'm sure, much sooner rather than later, because we've missed you.
Indeed.
I've missed you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, LaDonna.
Great to
Harvey
talk to
there
you.
from KOGO radio station
Don't
in
her
San
dulcet
Diego.
tones light up the airwaves.
They do, don't they? They just give you a good feeling.
Yeah.
It has to be said.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you that it's still 0-0 in the MLS All-Stars game against Real Madrid. It's quite a feisty little game, and apparently the referee is in possession of a sort of a referee cam.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
they're occasionally using to check out what's going on.
Yeah, I want progress on our rom-com, please.
Rom-Com?
What was it called? The thing,
Rom-Com?
the camera I bought.
The romantic comedy.
No, what was the camera I bought?
The GoPro.
The GoPro.
Yeah,
Oh,
don't worry. The GoPro is going to be ready for
I
action.
bought that GoPro, right? That's
do you want
my
it back?
property. No, I want to know what we're doing with it.
Excuse me, Two Mike's property, I think you'll find.
Yeah,
did
really?
you use? Yeah, well, did you use the Two Mike's account?
No, I did not.
Did you not?
No,
well,
I
have
did
you not reclaimed it back yet?
No, I have not. No,
Well, you should.
Well, I may just want to seize the property and use it for myself.
Yeah,
you know.
well, you can't though, because if I give it to you,
Yeah.
you will have no idea how it works.
Yeah,
It's
well,
very complicated.
I'm-
First of all,
I might.
I've shown you that I've got an app on the phone now, the Two Mike's phone,
Right.
which is all to do with the GoPro.
Okay, great.
And when you switch the GoPro on now,
Yeah.
you can see what is being filmed on the phone.
Excellent. I might wear it next time I go out in the street and greet people, something like that. Pick up the pictures along the way. Hey?
Wear it where?
On my head.
On your head?
Yeah.
You're going to walk around with a camera on your head?
Well, all right, my
Actually, it's a
shoulder.
good idea, because actually, you know what? That's a great idea, because you could show us then where you go every weekend.
Well, exactly.
And then we wouldn't have to have any lies or you know, sort of problems.
What about Porky's tour of Stockbroker Belt, Surrey?
Yeah, that'd be good, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
How many pubs do you think you'd be going to?
No, none.
Excellent. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Still a great song when you hear that, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, but I mean, Prince was brilliant, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah, absolutely terrific.
MLS All-Stars David Villa has just missed, not a particularly open goal, but
Yeah.
certainly a chance that he should have scored, I think.
Yeah, these MLS All-Stars, is that a sort of a team representative of all the teams in the MLS, is it?
Yes, it is, yeah. It's a bit like when they have, you know, they do it in football, they do it in basketball, they have an All-Star game, which is kind of breaks the season up.
Years ago, when I was a kid, the Football League used to put a team up, but then the Football League included Division 1, you see what I mean?
See, yeah.
And it would be the Football League against the German League or something like that.
I'm quite surprised in a way that the Premier League hasn't come up with one of these stunts. But I guess the problem is for the football business in this country is that there's hardly any time, is there?
No, it's absolutely true.
I mean, you know, the time that the season stops and starts again.
Yep.
I mean, we're already now on the brink of the season starting again.
Yeah, we are.
And it seems like no time at all
No, I totally
since
agree.
it stopped.
I totally agree.
And this is one of those. This is one of those situations where there wasn't, apart from the Confederations Cup, if you count that, there really wasn't a tournament. You know,
that's true. Absolutely.
You know, there wasn't a Euros, there wasn't a World Cup or anything like that.
Yeah. Listen, I was at a medical establishment the other day, as you know, because when I had my bloods checked.
Last week, yes. Yeah.
Now, I saw this sign on the wall, right, and I couldn't believe it. I don't know if you've come across this, but if a doctor is, you know, going about his normal life,
yes,
and he's driving down a country road and he comes across a crash, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, a car's bumped into another one.
Right.
If he gets out and then goes and attends to each person in the car, and supposing there's 8 of them, 4 in one car and 4 in another.
Are you saying he's duty bound to do it?
Well, I'm saying that it's quite opportunistic for a doctor because it says on the wall, this poster I was reading while I was waiting in the clinic where
the
I was at,
ante-room,
the ante-room. It said that if you're in a crash like that and a doctor attends you, it'll cost you £27.50.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Because a doctor can claim £27.50.
What, from you as a person?
For you as a person. You have to pay it there and then.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I sort of got talking to someone. They said, yeah, well, it's a basic charge. It has to be covered.
What about, for example, on a plane? Someone's taken ill, and they sometimes go, "Is there a doctor on board?"
That's right. Yeah.
Do you go up and go, "Give me the $27.50 and I'll sort him out"?
That's right. You can charge £27.50.
That's crazy.
No, it's absolutely true.
That's
bonkers.
bonkers.
So what I'm thinking is, you could get like a corrupt doctor who maybe had come from overseas and was not quite
a locum.
A locum who's not quite got the sort of the same view of the Hippocratic Oath that British educated doctors have,
well, it
or
might
any
not be
doctors around the world educated in Britain.
Well,
you know
it
what I
might
mean?
just be that he's a bit of a nasty piece of work.
Yeah,
he could have been
that's what I'm
educated
saying.
in Britain.
But he could go around crashing into cars. You know what I mean? Very gently.
See, you've thought of this, haven't you? You've spent the last 3 days coming up with a way of making the £27.50 work.
Yeah. He could crash into. I mean, you just bump them from the back. You know what I mean? A little bit of whiplash, and then just go out of the car and say, "Oh, excuse me, I'm really sorry. That was my arm. However, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Give me £27.50, and I'll check your neck for
I'll
you."
accept €. Yeah, but hang on, it's not very much, is it?
And then he could. I mean, he could up the ante by spotting a minibus with 12 people in it, and maybe he just bump it
Get
into
them
the
all
back
whiplashed.
of that. And then, that's 12 27s.
For 10 of you, I'll do you a deal. It's only 250 notes.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, but only you could come up with this kind of, nefarious way of making money.
Well, I thought it was remarkable when I read it, and I thought that can't be true, but it is. I looked at it, and I said to someone, they said, "Oh yeah, it's quite a standard charge. That's what doctors can charge because it's like." They're not supposed to be working, but they volunteer their time to try and, help before an ambulance arrives.
Yeah, but that's
and all that
outrageous.
Kind of stuff.
I mean, surely you'd have to be a pretty low-down sort of rat of a person particularly as a doctor who makes a reasonable living.
Well, I totally agree.
To start charging people for your services.
I totally agree.
That'd be like you kind of charging someone for, I don't know, giving them a bit of publicity for something that they needed to do.
Yeah, that's right.
I could see somebody doing it for, say, if it was £200 a time, but for £27.
£27.50.
That's really not enough.
Nevertheless, if it's a couple in a car and you say, right, well, that's £56, please. You know what I mean?
That's a shocking thing.
It is £55 actually. Yeah, it is shocking.
I wouldn't fancy that. Kirk says this, by the way, after that conversation we had with LaDonna. He says, I'm quickly booking the next flight to San Diego. Hashtag horizontal refreshment.
Well, come on. I mean, LaDonna's a very respectable woman, as we all know.
That's very harsh,
it is very harsh.
Dazza says, Porky and MG in a rom-com has me howling at the thought of nights of drunken passion after Wetherspoons.
Yeah, sorry about that. That was the wrong word. It was the old camera on your head.
Yes. Now, I've got a bit of news for you.
Okay.
Did you know how you're a big fan of Pyongyang?
Pyongyang!
Do you know that in Pyongyang, there's been a massive building that has been put up, right? And it's being called the Hotel of Doom.
Yes.
But it was started 30 years ago, right?
30 years ago.
And it looks a bit like the Shard, only bigger.
Yes.
It's triangular shaped, right? I'll show you a picture of it. It looks like the Shard, except it's a lot thicker at the bottom.
Golly, yeah.
And it was built originally...
It's like a pyramid, really.
It's a pyramid, yeah. But they started building it 30 years ago. It was going to become the country's biggest hotel.
Right, what happened? They ran out of money.
They ran out of money.
Yeah,
they literally
North
ran out of money.
Korea does run out of money because they spend it all on missiles to try and fire them to America.
Apparently, it's now known as the world's tallest unoccupied building.
Is it?
Because they couldn't finish it off, right?
Yeah.
However, having started it in 1987, and it stalled in the 90s because of the famine, apparently, because they couldn't get anybody to work there because there wasn't any food.
Terrible.
Construction began again in 2008. It was then stopped again in 2013.
Yes.
They now think that it's actually going to be finished very shortly in time for an anniversary, which is coming up, which is apparently the anniversary of the Korean War armistice.
I see.
So if you want to go to... I've always said to you, we should go to Pyongyang.
No thanks.
I think it'd be great.
Most boring, dull country in the world. I hate to see people imprisoned in their own country.
No, but it wouldn't be boring
if we
went.
That in Russia.
No, but it wouldn't be boring if we went. We could go there as, breaking through the barriers, right?
How many rooms is it supposed to have?
That I can't tell you.
Because it'll be thousands if it's the biggest hotel in... one of the biggest hotels in the world.
Yeah,
because
absolutely
there's already
right.
hotels in America and Russia which have thousands of rooms.
Well, I mean, you've told me about the massive complex in Romania.
Yes.
Ceausescu Palace.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is the single biggest building in the world, right?
It's so huge. It took about 25 minutes to drive around it. And it's right in the middle of town.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bigger than the Pentagon. And it's not, I mean, it's not as big as that.
Yeah.
But so I can't tell you exactly the number of rooms in it, but it's 105 stories high, which makes it, I think, higher than the Shard. Because the Shard, I think, is
incredible. That's been an incredible building.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's worth a look. Actually, I'm going to put it out on Twitter and have
if you
people
say
look
that
at
there
it.
could be like 20 rooms on each floor, that's 2,000.
More than that, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yes,
Probably
2,000
more than
at least. Yeah.
But it is actually in a place called, you'll like this. It's in Pyongyang, but it's open. It's in a sort of district called Ryugyong.
Ryugyong. Pyongyang.
So I'm going to keep an eye on it anyway, because I know how interested you are in these. In case you're looking to make an investment in property. In case you're thinking of looking at an investment in property in other parts of the world.
I wouldn't be.
Which you hadn't thought about.
Hey, talking about investments, by the way, I can't believe this, but we have both had Ford Sierras, haven't we?
We've both had what?
Ford Sierras.
Ford Sierras, yes. Well, that was the sort of standard company car, wasn't it?
Yeah. After the Cortina, the Sierra came in. I had a black sort of fastback one. Then I had when I became news editor.
Was it a Gia?
When I became news editor, I got a superior 2.5 litre one. You know?
Oh, right. You sure it wasn't a 2 litre one? Because when I came to the Express, I got a white 2 litre one.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And first time I drove it to a job, all the photographers were around it like sort of mosquitoes.
Why have you got 2 litres?
Oh, blimey, you got 2 litre.
Yeah.
And I went, well, so what? It's a crap car.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, it's a standard car.
It wasn't brand new or anything.
No, mine was 2.5.
But it was pretty cool. It was manual.
Manual, yeah, that's right. I remember mine as well. Anyway, the reason I tell you this is because I didn't realise that car collectors in this country really put a huge worth on Sierras, which are in mint condition.
Really?
From that era.
Yeah.
And yesterday, a car collector paid 115 grand for a Ford Sierra.
Really?
Yeah. It was first owned, first came off the production line in 1987.
Yeah, that sounds
so that'd
about
be
right.
about the time that I would have had one.
Yeah, well,
certainly.
I got mine in 92. And
yeah,
I think
exactly.
It was
I got mine in 87.
I think it was about a year old.
Yeah, I got mine in 85, actually, or 86, right?
Yeah.
This one was, do you remember these? The limited edition RS 500. Had a big fin on the back.
Yeah, I think so. That was the sort of souped-up version.
Yeah,
wasn't
that's right, souped-up version.
Yeah.
But it's only got 11,000 miles on the clock.
Right.
Now, it apparently sparked what's called a bidding frenzy at an auction in Silverstone, which obviously is where the racetrack is in Northamptonshire.
Absolutely.
A 1988 Peugeot 205 GTI. Didn't your sister have one of those?
She had a Peugeot 205 GTI, yes.
Yeah,
in
that's
fact,
right.
funnily enough, when she parked it in Belsize Park, and I was over one time to stay with her, we were supposed to be going to Clapham for lunch or something with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And we came downstairs and somebody had taken the wheels off it. Because it had sort of souped-up wheels.
Took all the wheels?
All the wheels.
All 4 wheels?
Yeah, it was up
Put
on
them
bricks. Yep, it was up on bricks.
God.
And I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
We had to take a taxi.
That's amazing. Because a 205 GTI hot hatch fetched £38,000 pounds.
Yeah.
A 1991 Lotus Carlton, 72,000.
That I don't remember a Lotus
And
Carlton.
a 2010 Ford Focus, that's not many years ago.
No.
54,000.
Really?
Ford Focus RS 500, yeah.
RS 500, maybe.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I remember she told me when there was a problem with the engine size.
Yes.
Because when she was working in the city,
Yeah.
she had a BMW for a while.
Right.
And then they changed it down to a Peugeot 205
Yeah.
because they started taxing the cars on the size of the engine.
I see.
Rather than on the actual cost of them.
Right, yeah.
So they started to make the engine smaller, but
Yes.
the car's more expensive.
Yes.
If you know what I mean.
Did you ever get the wheels back?
No.
Good. Well,
No.
what did you do? Go and buy 4 more wheels?
Yeah, she had to call the company that
Good
she rented it,
God.
or
Yeah.
who gave her the car, and tell them to replace all the wheels.
Terrible.
Absolutely shocking.
Yes.
Do lithography about money and about what we would do with 50 million quid
Yes.
should we win it on the Euro Millions.
Yes.
Why not play a bit of a Beatles song? Just before we get into it, though, Dean, because we occasionally like to tell people where other people are listening to the show from, he says, "Hi, guys, I'm listening to you in Adelaide. Love the show, makes my day at work go quickly.
Excellent.
Please carry on."
Good. Thank you very much.
Which is always very good.
Yes.
And Jim says the depths of Porky's deviousness never fails to astound.
What?
Dr. Pork is in the house. Mm-hmm. I think that's about your plan that,
Deviousness?
well, if you were a doctor
Oh, I
and you
see.
worked
Yeah,
out
yeah,
how you
yeah,
can make
that's right,
£27.50
Go around
every
crashing
time
into
you
other
crashed
cars.
into somebody else, you know
Yes,
what I mean?
absolutely, yeah.
Mark says, a bit like Porky charging 10 quid for a birthday message. Oh, hang on, he already tried that.
Yeah, what?
You
That's
did,
a bit
didn't you?
harsh.
You did.
Actually, we've had a few birthday requests as well. Have you found them?
Do you know, we have, and
Yes.
I've got a feeling that I
Yes.
might have a couple here that I can tell you about.
Yes, good, good.
But I'm not entirely certain.
One indeed for, I think, a 10-year-old youngster, so I'd be very upset if we missed that one out.
Oh, really?
Give
Well,
them
let
a
me see.
shout
I've got 2 here. One is from Brian. He says, "Hi, guys. Any
48?
chance of a 48th birthday
That's him.
shout-out, please? I
Yep.
never miss a show while driving my Iceland truck."
Excellent.
And I also met Mike Parry in Wigan, and he sends a picture
Yeah.
of when you were in Harry's bar, I guess.
That's right, when
in
we were
Wigan.
launching the Porky Scratchings,
Yes.
which incidentally are taking over the world, at
Are
a
they?
very rapid rate.
Oh,
I'm
that's good.
delighted to
Well,
say.
I wouldn't mind, another packet or 2 if you ever feel the need to bring some in.
Well, they're only 85p a packet.
Yeah, well, that's fine, but I don't have a chance to go and buy them anywhere. You just
really?
bring them in. You want me
So
to give
you-
you the cash?
Well, you think I should give you free packets
Well,
of Porky
I
Scratchings?
think you should, yeah. Probably
After
got
all the time and investment I put into them.
Well, I presume you've got
Give
like,
them away to bums like
you've
you.
got a boatload of them in the back of the car, haven't
Not
you?
going to make a fortune very quickly on
No.
that one, am I?
And how about this from Sally, who sent me this
Hang on,
Facebook?
what's that guy's name? Brian?
Brian, yes.
Brian, 48, great age, well done, mate. Keep driving that Iceland truck.
Yeah.
And frozen fish fingers are the number.
Indeed. Sally says this, please, 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 can you give my partner Big G from Bournemouth a massive shout-out? He absolutely loves your show and is a loyal Birmingham City fan.
Right.
Looking forward to the new season with Harry as manager. Love you guys, says Sally.
Okay, and Sally, what's Sally's partner's name?
His name is Big G.
Okay, will Big G have was it a birthday?
I believe it's no, he just wants a massive shout-out.
Oh, okay, well, Big
Loves
G.
the show.
Big G, thanks very much indeed for being a very loyal listener. Sally is your partner in life, so she's put the request in, so we're delighted to accord to her wishes and have great lives, people.
Indeed, have great lives, people. Now,
Yeah.
should we get this underway? Because we've got a great deal of time. We've got Porkyvision to do later on.
Yeah.
We've also got to decide, by the way, on a Porky quiz.
Yes.
Which we must do before the end of this show.
Okay.
So, if you won £50 million on the Euro lottery,
Yeah.
what would be the first thing you would spend money on?
Right, the first thing I'd spend money on was I would use 25 million of it to set up the Porky Parry Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
And this would be for
That's
good causes.
Good tax.
No, this would be for good causes around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Now, $25 million, pounds, we'll say, or euros, 25 million euros, because
Yes.
it's paid in euros, right. I would then expect a return on that of about 2 million euros a year.
Right.
And I would use that 2 million euros a year to go and help children around Britain, right?
Yes.
But on direct aid. I wouldn't give it to charity. I would start my own, and I would say, right, where should we go where children are having a bad time?
Yeah.
Then I instruct somebody to, build something which would help children and appoint people to do it and have it inspected every week so that it was like a Dr. Bernardo's home to help youngsters, OK?
OK.
That's what I would do.
That sounds very good.
That'd be my first 25 million. What would you do with your first tranche of money?
Well, I'm actually looking currently as we speak at buying a private island.
Private island?
Yeah.
For your own use?
Yeah, because I quite like the idea of having... I've always fancied the idea of owning a private island.
So how does that fit into philanthropy?
I didn't say anything about philanthropy, did I?
Oh, so you're not going to be philanthropic?
No,
then,
why would I? Why would I be philanthropic?
How mean.
No, I mean, I've got plenty of children to support, right?
Right.
My children are all expecting a handout when I die.
Yeah.
My plan is to leave them with nothing.
Yes.
Right? Because my father left me with nothing.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask them to hopefully plough their own furrow. However, while I'm alive, I'll try and give them as nice a time as I possibly can.
Okay.
Now, looking at all of the islands that are available currently in the world, I'd quite like the look of a place called Derby Island, 554 acres in the Bahamas. Currently on sale for $39 million.
What, and you'd buy it?
Yeah.
What's on it?
Nothing.
Well, you'd have to build on it then, like Richard Branson did on Necker.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was an amazing feat, by the way, he did there.
Absolutely right. So for $39 million, which I think at the current exchange rate would be around about 29 million pounds.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So that would still leave me with a good 22 million.
Yeah, but we're talking euros here, by the way.
Well, no, £50 million is the figure.
No, the figure's 50 million euros.
No, it's not. It's £50 million.
You can't win 50 million. You don't very often win 50 million pounds on the lottery. It's euros.
Yeah, but the Euro Millions quite often is in the 60 million category or 75 million.
Okay.
For the purposes of this particular conversation, it's 50 million quid.
Okay.
Right? Anyway, so... because I don't know precisely, I think it's about 120, 125 at the moment, the exchange rate, right?
Okay.
So you're talking about probably about 28 million quid or thereabouts,
Right.
which would still leave me sort of, 22 left over to be able to do some nice things on the island.
Okay.
And obviously, I mean, I've got others, 2 or 3 choices to make. But Derby Island, 554 acres, it's in the Bahamas.
Yeah,
It's beautiful. Do you want to see it?
Not really.
I'll show you a picture
It's very
of it.
self-indulgent, isn't it?
What do you mean? Look at that. There it is. It's covered in woodland.
Yes.
It's got a big lake in the middle.
Yeah, it looks nice.
It's got some beautiful beaches.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what to do with money.
That is very
Never mind your foundations and all that rubbish.
Right. You say rubbish, you say. I don't think I will do it. Now, my second load of money, which would be $15 million.
Yes.
I would set up another foundation to look after injured animals.
So you're going to have 2 foundations?
2 foundations, yeah.
What a philanthropist you are.
Well,
I mean, you're trying to make everybody love you or something?
No. I believe...
Trying to make out that you're, Mr. Personality?
No, this is what my conscience would dictate.
Really?
And I would... this would be to look after horses, donkeys...
Donkeys?
Yeah, dogs and cats. And, donkeys get terribly abused. They're used in...
so what?
Well, you can't have it,
well, why don't you do that now? Why don't you do that now? You could have a foundation to save the donkey.
I haven't got 14 million.
You don't need 14 million
at the moment. So that would, and again, it would be direct contributions. I wouldn't be giving it to other charities. I would set up the charity and I would appoint people and vets to look after distressed animals, and that would make me sleep easier at night. Okay?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would set up for my second move. I've still got 22 million left. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of that may have to be spent on the island.
Yes.
But I would put in trust for my children, for each of my 4 children, £1 million.
Right. Okay.
They would not be able to use that money until they were at the age of at least 30.
Yes.
When it would be triggered, but only in the amount of something like $25,000 a year.
Right.
For the first 5 years, I'd set it all up properly.
Okay.
So they couldn't just go mad.
Okay.
And take out £1 million straight away.
Right.
And buy £1 million worth of cocaine or something.
Yes,
ridiculous.
I see.
So that's what I would do. That would be my second. That'd be $4 million, which would leave me still with 18 million, I believe.
Okay, 18 million. Okay.
So,
well, my third option on the money would be I would give the rest of it to Harefield Hospital.
How much is left?
10.
10
million. I'll give it to Harefield Hospital so that they could ward off the threat of being amalgamated into a bigger hospital in Paddington in London, because the site upon which Harefield Hospital exists is so pleasant for patients. It's got rolling lawns, it's got a lake, and if you're not well and you...
Well, what are they going to do with the 10 million?
What will they do?
Yeah.
Well, improve the hospital to such a standard.
Well, you don't have to do much with 10 million, can you?
Of course you can.
You can't even buy a radiation machine.
Yeah, you can. You can build new theatres to hold, to carry out heart transplant operations and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, of course you can.
So you're expecting everybody who listens to this show, who knows you to be a nefarious incredibly kind of self-appointed and selfish individual.
No.
That you're going to give all this money away.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
you're not going to keep any of it.
I wouldn't keep any of it. No.
But that's because.
Well, I might keep 1 million.
But that's because
I might keep 1 million.
You might keep $1 million.
Yeah.
But it's because you're already a millionaire, isn't it?
No.
You don't need the money.
No, irrelevant. No, I'd keep 1 million just as a sort of safety insurance policy against tragedy.
Tragedy.
Yeah.
What, the Bee Gees song?
Yeah, that's right.
Tragedy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I've still got 18 million in the pot.
Yeah, and what are you going to do with that?
Well, I think I might need about 9 million of it to build a decent-sized house on the island.
Yeah, you would, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And maybe with the rest of it, I might just have to keep it sort of on what you might call account.
Yes.
You know, because obviously travelling backwards and forwards to the island would cost a lot of money, wouldn't it? I don't think I'd want to buy a private plane.
No.
Because you wouldn't get a decent one for 9 million.
Well, not only that, it's a complete waste of money.
Well, yeah, but I'd need to keep somebody on sort of, on queue in the Bahamas to be able to get me backwards and forwards to the island.
What you need to do is hire and lease and rent planes, not buy one for yourself.
No,
well, mind you, if you did buy one, you could actually lease it out to other people.
You could maybe lease it out.
And then that would be a business, wouldn't it?
But to be honest, I mean, you don't need a massive plane to get around the Bahamas. I think you just need a small sort of, relatively decent jet prop.
Well, probably do it with a helicopter.
Maybe even a helicopter, So I'd probably just, keep the rest of it to use as kind of walking around money.
I see, okay.
You know what I mean? Because I would never give up working.
No.
I'm like you, I have a great work ethic. Yeah. Just because I would win 50 million, I would not stop working.
Yes, okay.
I might write the odd couple of books, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Do a bit of radio work.
Yes.
Possibly still entertain you in some way, shape or form.
Yes, okay.
I think that would be good.
Okay.
So those are my three I think people are going to understand and believe.
No.
Much, much more than yours, which is just you trying to make yourself out to be some, mega philanthropist.
No, not at all.
Nobody's going to believe that.
No, I'd love to hear from the audience to find out whether they think that yours is just a totally selfish, self-indulgent splurge on yourself, or whether
No. What about my children? I give them £1 million each to my kids.
Yeah, it's still your kids. It's nobody else's children.
Well,
You're not helping disadvantaged children.
I'm not responsible for disadvantaged children. Sorry.
And that I am actually, not just the man of the people, but the conscience of the people as well. I think that's overwhelmingly obvious. Okay?
God help the people if that's the case. Yeah. Anyway, coming up very shortly, it's going to be time for Porkyvision. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight.
Stu says, out here on the bike in Spruce Grove, Alberta, listening to the Two Mics. Need a shout out for continuing motivation. Alberta, yeah.
Did you hear that song we just played?
I did. I like that song.
Right. What song is it?
The Way You Look Tonight.
No.
What?
No, it was I Left My Heart in San Francisco.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
I Left My Heart in San Francisco is a completely different song.
Is it?
Yes.
I thought that was the start of it.
No.
I thought the next verse was I
Some
left my heart.
No. I Left My Heart in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yeah, that's a completely different song.
Oh, I thought that was the sort of start of it.
No.
Because Tony Bennett is 91 today.
Similar style. Do you know
what year that came out?
What, I Left My Heart in San Francisco? I would say probably around about 1967.
Well, 62 actually.
Oh, right, okay.
So how many years ago is that? 62 to 02 to 12. That's 50.
What? 12?
55. 55 years ago.
Okay.
55 years ago.
Oh, well, it's quite current then.
I left my heart.
I told you about the
San Francisco.
I can't ever take that song seriously anymore because I told you I used to go to this place in Chinatown where they had a.
Is that Chinatown here or
Chinatown here? Yeah,
yeah.
And in Gerrard Street, and there was a place that was open quite late at night. They had karaoke upstairs when karaoke wasn't that popular,
right? Yeah,
and it was very much something that the Chinese liked to do, right? And you go upstairs, and they had a book with all the songs that they had on their karaoke machine in it, and it was in Chinese and English,
right?
But the English was very broken broken English.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
exactly.
And the title of the song in question was "I Left My Herd in San Francisco."
My herd, yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, well,
so it was complete. The words were all wrong.
Yeah, I went on holiday to San Francisco before I ever worked in America. It was about 21 or something. You know?
Oh yeah.
I went on one of these.
I think you said you went with your mate, right?
My mate Colin.
Yeah. That's quite adventurous for that time.
Yeah,
though.
it was. Yeah, it was.
Because in those days,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you didn't really go to America, did you?
No. We picked up a brochure, when we were out on the Bladderation Trail one Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
We passed an estate travel agent,
right?
And it was a very pretty girl sitting behind a desk in there. That's why we went in.
So that's why you went in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Use your rules.
And we just said, want a holiday, and she talked us into going on this 3-location holiday, which was San Francisco, Las Vegas, San Diego.
Okay. So
sorry, San Francisco.
LA, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, LA. And
so did you fly to San Francisco or what?
We flew to San Francisco, then we went to LA, then we went to Las Vegas.
Because they used to sell these things as like fly drive vacations.
That's right. That's right. It wasn't a fly drive. You flew between the three. Okay. It was a great holiday. Fantastic.
Yeah. And must have been quite. I mean, it must be quite expensive to do that, wasn't it?
Well, it was a package holiday thing, so it was affordable. It just sort of started in the newspaper industry, and Las Vegas was amazing in those days. Las Vegas was so small in those days, you could walk up the strip and back, and that was Las Vegas.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Caesars on one side of the road, the Holiday Inn on the other. It was amazing. But no, we got to San Francisco, and my mate Col, who I've told you the story, sadly died on board the Cunard ship, the Victoria.
Oh, the one last couple of years.
One that pulled into Venice. He never got off the boat, and when they went and opened his cabin, sadly he passed away.
Right.
It was very tragic. But no, he fancied himself as a bit of a singer, and he played the guitar a bit. So he got up in a piano bar in San Francisco and said, "This is my life's ambition," So he said, to sing San Francisco in San Francisco.
Right. Yeah.
So I went and grabbed the microphone off the resident singer. He was a professional singer,
Sure.
They
don't take too kindly to that,
They
do
didn't take kindly to it at all. So he grabbed it, completely bladderated, and, I'll give you a song, all the way from England, and play San Francisco, and so the guy started playing it. I left, and then everybody just completely attacked him and mocked him.
Right.
Get off the stage, you
Right.
limey, you limey bum, throw him out.
Yeah.
He got thrown out.
Really?
Yeah, he was thrown out of the bar. Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my experience in San Francisco was not the best because I went there after the earthquake in 1989. I got a phone call in the middle of the night, about 4 a.m. From London, saying, "Oh, there's been a massive earthquake in San Francisco. Can you get out there?" And of course, you
hell of a long way to go, didn't they?
Well,
Be closer.
No, they didn't for some reason. I don't know why the reason was that they didn't, but they didn't. I mean, everybody else. I mean, I think the problem was people like Terry Willows and others that we knew from LA. Had already been booked by other people.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and they wanted me to go.
Yes.
Oh, it could have been that they just thought I was so brilliant that they had to have me on
to
site.
Get you over there,
So I got myself on a plane about 7 o'clock. Got out there, of course, got to the airport, and because it was quite a severe earthquake.
Yeah.
I think the initial one was about an 8.5 or an 8.9.
The Richter scale.
Yeah, and at the time we thought there was part of one of the bridges had collapsed, the Bay Bridge.
Yeah,
because I remember that famous footage of the car driving and then just going down.
That's right. Yeah,
and then there was that other freeway in Oakland which had collapsed.
Yeah,
and so everybody thought there was thousands of people dead. Didn't turn out to be quite so bad. But I got to the airport and there was no cars. Couldn't hire a car.
Yeah,
because loads of people in San Francisco had driven off. So I saw the city kind of not at its best really.
That's right.
All the electricity was out. I checked into the Fisherman's Wharf Sheraton.
Yeah.
And they were giving away free beer on the streets because all the fridges were out.
All the fridges were out.
And it was a great atmosphere, but it was kind of like a war zone.
Yeah, but when it's at its best, San Francisco is a magnificent city.
I'd
literally riding the cable cars up and down the hills and getting down to Union Square and taking a cocktail in the Sir Francis Drake Hotel.
Did you get over to Alcatraz or not?
No, I didn't do Alcatraz. I went across I met a young lady. In fact, we both met. We met a couple of young ladies who drove us across the Golden Gate Bridge.
Really?
To a place called Sausalito on the other side.
Yeah.
And we had
I
lunch
never made
there.
it over there. Because I couldn't get out of the city because there were no cars.
No cars. Well, I think that it was the same night that I got a call from our night news editor. It was a guy called Terry Chinnery.
Terry Chinnery?
Yeah,
Joe's desk.
Terry
might still be around. He was brilliant.
Yeah,
great guy. Lovely guy.
He always wore a magnificently ironed white shirt,
Yes,
a collar,
and a black tie.
and tie. That's
Yeah.
right, yeah, and a very well pressed trousers. And he was a real gentleman, but he
was a bit of an EastEnder, wasn't he?
He was a bit of an EastEnder and a bit of a blockhead.
Well,
so,
it wasn't so much that. It was.
yeah.
I always thought with him that if you pushed him a bit too far,
Yeah.
he would end up just decking you.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, he was a man sort of on the brink.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, he. It's about 2 or 3 in the morning, you know, and I get
your time.
Yeah, our time. Yeah, no mobile phones in those days, and the phone goes next to the bed, you know. Pick it up, like, oh, sorry, yeah, what's it? Yeah, the bridges are all collapsed. You know, sorry, who's this? Yeah, what's happened? Earthquake. You haven't told me where it was or anything, you know. Yeah, so what's happening? Earthquake, you know, and who sent you out there, by the way? Today, that's right, yeah. So I said, you know, we'll just calm down, will you? You know, I've got some pictures here. And he was just in total panic.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to do. He didn't know where San Francisco was, you know what I mean? He was an East End boy, as you say. Never been to America. And
didn't realise that if you're in New York, it's about a 10-hour flight
Yeah,
away.
exactly, and all that kind of stuff, you know. But another interesting thing about Terry Chinnery was he had a brother called somebody Chinnery, you know what I mean?
Well, he would have been, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I think I remember his brother for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, it's this is quite a good story. His brother, unfortunately, had something like leukemia.
Right.
And one night, Terry, you know, just came to me and, you know, he was sort of starting his night's work and I was ending my day's work and he said, I've got this tragic news. My brother's been taken into hospital for some tests after not feeling well. He's just been diagnosed with leukemia.
Blimey.
He said, it's got my mother's very upset. I said, well, you must go immediately, go to the hospital.
Sure.
Anyway, about 2 or 3 days later, I gave him a ring and I said, he said, it's the worst possible diagnosis. It's very serious and all kind of stuff. His brother was a huge West Ham fan.
Right.
So I said, OK. I said, well, and he was talking about trying to keep his brother's morale up and all that. So I said, and is he a big West Ham fan? He said, yeah. So I went to see David Emery, who was the sports editor, and said, Dave, do we know any great West Ham footballers? I said, because I explained the situation. He said, yeah, let's see what we can do. And about a day later, I got a phone call from Alvin Martin.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd never spoken to Alvin before. I didn't know Alvin. I mean, you know, to me, he was a footballer.
Sure. Was he still playing in those days?
No, he just retired.
Okay.
Just retired. And
great guy, Alvin. I like Alvin.
Alvin's a terrific man. And I said, hi, Alvin. I said, look, this is a situation. I said, and his brother has literally been given a death sentence. I said, months to live, you know, and he's in this hospital. He said, well, if I can help, I will. I said, anyway, he turned up at the bedside.
Did he?
And I can't remember Terry's brother's name. Might have been Martin or something. No, that's Alvin Martin, wasn't it? So I can't remember, Roy or something like that. But anyway, from the moment that Alvin Martin walked into the ward and Terry's brother saw him, his condition completely changed.
Right.
And the doctors put it down to the morale boost that Alvin Martin had given him. And in fact, he survived for many, many years. He may still be alive now, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the death sentence he'd been given of 3 months to live and all that, he surpassed that easy and went on to live for years and years. And that was down to Alvin. Yeah, Alvin was a terrific guy.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What a great story.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
That's one of the nicest stories you've ever told.
Yes, well, it's and the next time I saw Alvin Martin, I'd just been made boss of TalkSport when we were in Oxford Street.
Right.
Those very expensive studios we had there.
Yeah.
And
was he working there already, or did you bring him in?
One of the producers said, I've done some work with Alvin Martin before, about bringing him in to do a show with, somebody in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, sounds great. Is he any good? He said, well, he's very hard working, does a lot of research and all that. I said, bring him in. So he came in, and then when he came in, I saw him out there on the floor, and I went over and said, hi, Alvin. And he said, oh, yeah. I said, yeah, I'm the program director. And I said, look, come and have a chat with me. And we talked through the Chinnery thing. And Alvin told me, he survived 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean?
So he knew him, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He knew the story. Cause he didn't just go and see him once. He kept going to see him. Yeah. And the doctors said it was a terrific morale boost and undoubtedly helped with his longevity and his recovery.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me about him.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Camo says this, we must have gone to a different San Francisco. We went last year and struggled to walk down the path without avoiding the homeless everywhere and pickpockets. Well, maybe you just
Well,
went
it
to a bad
depends
part of town.
it depends which part of town you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, a few of them hang around in Union Square.
I'm
but
actually quite glad to hear that it's a bit like that because some American cities have become so kind of homogenised and sanitised
exactly,
that none of that stuff goes on.
Yeah.
More of that, of course, on our On The Record podcast, which you can get every Monday with lots of tales from America and beyond. This is Talk Sport.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's your problem?
That music can only mean one thing. It is, of course, time for Porkyvision, the best TV review. I'm going to say this side of Perth, Australia, because I've got a note from Ian, and I guess it's not school holidays there, because he says, "Good day, Mikes. Could I get a get well soon, please, for my two boys, Lincoln and Archer, who are off school today?"
Okay.
Long-term podcast listener.
Okay, we need to tell our listeners about a goal in the All-Star game, but later on. But
Real Madrid have scored,
Yeah, that's right. First of all, Porkyvision. Now, there's not much happening on telly at the moment.
What about Lincoln and Archer?
What?
Lincoln and Archer.
What's that?
Well, I've just been reading you a tweet from Ian, whose sons, Lincoln and Archer, are off school in Perth.
Oh, are we going to say hello to them?
Well, he says get well soon.
Oh, get well soon, Lincoln and Archer.
Lincoln and Archer.
They're not well.
They're not well.
Oh, well,
They're
I'm
off
sorry.
school.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I thought you meant they're off school because of the summer holidays.
Well, he's in Perth, Australia, see, so I'm thinking maybe they don't have summer holidays.
No, they have
'cause
winter
it's
holidays.
winter.
That's right, yeah. Oh, well, get well soon, boys,
Yeah.
and glad you're listening. Keep it up.
Not at all.
You'll grow up to be fine people if you
Indeed.
take the word of the Portmeister.
Yes.
Now, see, there's not a great load of good stuff on telly at the moment, right? Can I tell you that?
Do you think so?
Yeah, I you know, obviously I'm watching Poldark every week, but I've told people enough about Poldark.
Well, it
Bit of
finished on
Rogerisation
Sunday, didn't
going
it?
on. No, there's one episode left.
There's one left?
One left.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was all over on Sunday.
No. At the moment, they've got the girl who wanted to marry the labourer who's building the church.
Oh, yeah.
Had to marry the local vicar instead.
Oh, God.
But the local vicar's not a normal vicar. He's a really sex-crazed beast.
Really?
Yeah, and he preaches from.
Sound like much of a vicar. Really.
No, he's not much of a vicar. He preaches from the pulpit, but then he goes out and gets bladderated.
Yeah.
And then he subjects his young wife to terrible sexual activity.
No.
You know what I mean?
Then I hate that.
I mean, even when she's got her clothes on, he's assaulting her and all this kind
Shocking.
of stuff, and he's not really a very good vicar in the sense that he seems to prefer lustful activities and lots
pleasures of the flesh.
Pleasures of the flesh when he's bladderated, so he's not such a great vicar.
Yeah.
But Demelza, who is Captain Ross Poldark's wife, is being courted by another bloke, who's...
Really?
Yeah, and he's a bloke that
Well,
Poldark...
is she married to Poldark?
Yeah, she's married to Poldark.
Well, why
but
is she
remember-
allowing that sort of thing
Well,
to go
because Poldark, you see, in an earlier series, cheated on her with Catherine.
Is that the redhead?
No, Demelza's the redhead.
Oh, okay.
Catherine is the one that...
See, I studiously tried to avoid watching it.
Yeah, well...
It's like Gareth Bale's just come on, by the way.
Gareth Bale has just come on, you're right. Catherine allowed Poldark to sort of almost rape her, really, when he stormed round there after he'd learned she was marrying one of his enemies.
Okay.
And as a result, a baby arrived.
Oh, so she's not married to him anymore, then?
Well, she's married to George Warlegan, who is the local brutal landowner.
I did try and watch it, actually, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
it was so awful. That I thought
I think it's really good.
I thought I'd done really well to avoid it this weekend.
So as all that's not very good, I thought I'd give everybody a review of Coronation Street. Because I haven't really spoken about Coronation Street for such a long time.
People have always said, whenever you do speak about it, that you're about 3 months behind, though. So I hope you're not so far
the
behind.
Case. What's happening in Coronation Street is that Eve, I think her name is.
Eve?
No, hang on, what's her name? Maria has got her clutches. Maria is the hairdresser.
Right.
Got her clutches into Aidan. But Aidan is engaged to marry the most glamorous-looking woman in Coronation Street, who is Eva Price.
Eva Price?
Yeah.
Okay.
Long blonde hair, extremely shapely lady, and a bit of a sort of airhead type portrayal of her as a character, which is... I'm sure she's not in real life, but that's how they try to portray her.
I mean, I suppose they think the hairdressers should be portrayed as airheads.
Well, no, that's Maria. Maria's not an airhead. Eva's the airhead.
Oh, I see.
And so, for some unknown reason, Aidan's decided that he's going to romance both ladies.
Yeah.
And he's doing that at the same time. And she's now found out because Aidan stupidly left all his love messages to Maria.
Did he?
On the telly for some unknown reason.
On the telly?
Yeah, on the telly.
What, you mean written down?
Well, for some unknown reason, he plugged his mobile phone into the telly.
Did he?
And then downloaded his messages.
What a plonker.
Yeah, and then Eva comes in, because she's supposed to be away, but she arrived home early.
Yeah.
Sees them all, so she puts the boot in on the telly.
Oh,
It's a very expensive telly, by the way.
With a flat screen, everything.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, and then but now she's hiding the secret. She's hiding the secret, and she's now got access to all his shopping accounts, and she's ordering things like Range Rovers. And and this sort of thing.
She's ordering a Range Rover.
Yeah,
to deliver it to the address.
Yes, to punish him and all this kind of stuff.
Dear.
You know what I mean?
Blimey.
So what happens is that Eva then cruelly tells him, because she's aware of his transgressions, that she's actually pregnant, but she's not. And
she's making it up.
So he's now
That's a shocking thing
in a terrible state. But while all that's going on, there's lots of other sort of nefarious activities going on around.
How can they keep the show going for this length of time and
I don't
keep
know.
everybody interested?
But you know what is amazing is that Bill Roach, who's Ken Barlow, is still the best actor in the whole thing.
Is that right?
And he's over 80
now, isn't he?
He's over 80.
Yeah.
He's over 80. He's an amazing guy. And he's got such a long, drawn-out, complicated family tree now.
Yeah.
Half of whom are trying to kill him. Half of his family are trying to kill him. One of them, in fact, did try to kill him.
Is it viable anymore as a show? Do you think?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's good. And at the same time, you've got a vicar who seems to be like a fashion vicar, because normal vicars wear a dog collar with a black shirt, I suppose you call it, yeah?
Well, the collar is usually attached to the black shirt, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, this guy never wears black. He wears, blue and white checks.
Oh, yeah? What, with the dog collar?
Yeah.
Right.
White with short sleeves.
Really?
I mean, he's a real trendy vicar, you know.
Okay.
But the problem is, in being a trendy vicar, he's up to activities which aren't very vicarly.
Is he like the other vicar in Poldark? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, no, because he's gay.
Right.
So he's got a boyfriend.
Well, it doesn't mean he's not sex crazed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's got a boyfriend in the series.
So he is like the Poldark guy then?
Well, yeah, except that he's not imposing himself on anybody. He's in
see.
a mutually sort of beneficial relationship with a bloke called Todd. But Todd's a bit of a schemer, Todd's a bit of a schemer. And within all this, there's all sorts of villains sort of floating about, But then a guy who's supposed to be about 25 or 26, called, I've forgotten his name now. He's a ginger-haired kid who used to have a dog called Schmeichel.
Schmeichel?
Yeah, Schmeichel, after the
Zool,
Manchester goalkeeper. Yeah. Well, he's, what's his name? I should know his name because I watch it every week. Well, he's just got stabbed with a broken bottle by a nutter who was high on drugs in the local wine bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, see, the trouble for me in this whole saga is that, because it's such a long and old show, you wonder where it's going.
Yes.
I mean, where's it going?
And now the guy
it can't possibly be going anywhere, can it?
Yeah, well, it's twists and turns. The guy who got stabbed with the broken bottle was trying to romance Sinead.
Who's she?
She's another dizzy blonde.
Oh, right.
She plays the part of a dizzy blonde.
She's not a hairdresser?
No, she's not a hairdresser. She works in the knicker factory.
Knicker?
Yeah, sewing knickers.
There's a knicker factory?
There's a knicker factory, yeah. Underworld, it's
called. Well, that's ridiculous. They don't have knicker factories anymore, do they?
They do.
They're all in
No,
China.
they do.
China and India and places like that.
Well, I think they do and all that. And what's his name? It's not Ashley, is it? It's. But anyway, the problem is he only looks about 14 anyway.
Right.
And he runs the local kebab shop.
The one who got stabbed?
The one who got stabbed.
Okay.
Yeah, he runs the local kebab shop, right? And the best character in it is the other girl who works in the kebab shop.
Right.
Because she's a right little minx, who's always getting into trouble. And
Minx?
Minx, yeah. And but at the same time, you've got Tracy. And Tracy, who runs the flower shop.
Tracy's been in it for a while.
Tracy's been in it for a while. Do you know one thing I've noticed? I think there must be some sort of sponsorship going on in Coronation Street.
Right.
Because there's a flower shop. There's the Nick's Wine Bar, or Nick's Bistro.
Right.
So there's Nick's Bistro, there's the flower shop, there's the local window cleaner.
Yes.
And they've all got brand new vans.
Right.
With the names of their companies on the side.
And they're all the same make of van?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think some kind of van sponsorship going on. Yeah.
Well, product placement's a big thing.
Yeah, well, it is, yeah.
I didn't think they were allowed to do it, though.
Well, I think they do.
Because is it not the case that in EastEnders, for example, that they've had to cover up things like if you've got an Apple laptop, you have to cover up the little apple on the back of it.
Do you? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I didn't know that.
And if you're drinking out of a can of Coca-Cola, you have to cover up the
but
can.
Anyway.
What do you mean anyway? I'm just explaining it to you.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's not very
interesting.
It's
quite important.
yeah. So
it's more interesting than this crappy review you're doing.
So that's all going on. Now, the other thing is, remember I told you a few weeks ago about William Tell?
Yes.
That's a 60-year-old programme.
Yes.
Now, people were fascinated by that.
They weren't really fascinated.
No, they were. So what
Their
I did
reaction was different to that.
What I did was I went back to the same channel and saw...
the William Tell channel.
The William Tell channel. Yeah. But guess what they were showing instead of William Tell?
I don't know. Robin Hood.
They were showing that one, Robin Hood, yeah. No, we've seen Robin Hood as kids, remember?
So is this the Robin Hood William Tell channel?
Well, yeah, that's right, yeah. But Robin Hood, and it's ridiculous, you know.
Which one was it?
It was Robin Hood.
No, but I mean, which Robin Hood?
It was Lorne Green.
Lorne Green. I remember him.
Plays Robin Hood.
Is that the one with Basil?
Hood,
is that the one with
Hood.
Basil Rathbone as the Sheriff of Nottingham?
Riding round the glen. It is actually.
Is it?
Yeah. And what they do is they bring the Sheriff of Nottingham to Robin Hood's camp.
Or the Sheriff of Nottingham Polly.
Yeah, Sheriff of Nottingham Polly. That's right. Yeah. And he says, "I'm going to give you all a pardon." And Robin Hood says, "Why do we need a pardon?"
Yeah.
Because you're outlaws. No, we're not. You seized all our lands.
Right.
All right, we'll go and fight for the king and I'll pardon you all. He said, but we get killed in battle. He said, yes, that's right.
But
because you'll be in the front line. You get pardoned.
Yeah.
So Robin then says, bring out the mighty bow. So they bring out this bow.
There's Little John in this one.
No, Little John is in this one, yeah. But the bow is about twice the size of Richard, you know. And only like a giant can fire this bow.
Well, that's where Little John had the
that's
edge.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a giant can fire this bow, you know. They have this archery competition.
I can't imagine the scene of you watching this rubbish.
And at the same time as all this is happening, this sort of philosopher guy arrives from France, wandering around with like stars sewn on his cloak and all this. Oh, you know, this great philosopher.
David
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what have you come to tell us, philosopher? You know, and he talks a load of gobbledygook and says, "Have you got any money?" Because he says, "Well, you're Robin Hood.
Maybe the worst Porkyvision ever."
Yeah, don't you rob the rich to give to the poor? And Robin Hood says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, here, I'll give you mine. I've got 50 gold coins." So I don't know why he gave Robin Hood 50 gold coins, but it's something
People
to do.
are saying,
no, it was something to do with the mighty bow.
Yeah. Well, Richard's saying, didn't mean Richard Green. Lord Green was in Bonanza.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Lord Green was the father in Bonanza. I mean Richard Green. That's the one.
A couple of people are pointing out the name of the guy you're thinking of in Coronation Street, the ginger lad.
Chesney.
It's called Chesney.
Chesney, that's right. Yeah.
According to Brummy. Mark from Liverpool says
right,
Chesney, you plank.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Kenny says a trendy vicar sounds like some sort of dodgy euphemism.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't think it's a euphemism, but no, the old Robin Hood thing, as usual, it was, you know, it's supposed to be in Sherwood Forest, but it looked like it was filmed in my roof garden.
Really?
Because there's not really much forest about.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, it's pretty shocking.
And there's on all the rocks that you can tell are made of papier-mâché.
Yes.
Yeah, in the
if
forest.
you fall into them, they just kind of collapse.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, but
shocking stuff.
The only thing that really worried me was that Friar Tuck was around, and Little John was around, but no sign of Maid Marian.
No sign of her.
Which was the only reason I used to watch it as a 10-year-old boy. You know
Wasn't
what I mean?
there Little somebody as well?
Little John.
No, not Little John. There was another character. Wasn't
there was some guy called Green, like Green Sleeve or something. There was Little John. There was, what did I say, Friar Tuck.
Mitch the Miller's son, was he one of them?
No, not Mitch the Miller's son. There was some guy called, I think his name was Greensleeve. He used to play the lute,
No, I don't think so. I think you're thinking of Henry VIII now.
My heart
no, I think you're thinking of Henry VIII.
No, I don't think it was.
You're getting massively confused.
Anyway, in the end, they literally booted the Sheriff of Nottingham up the Arris and told him to push off from their camp in Sherwood Forest.
Right, too.
So he then vowed to come back with his soldiers and do them in.
All right. That was Porkyvision. I'm not sure what it was about. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Baby, you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go do it all again, you better catch your own train.
This is Talk Sport Well, we are the two mics. I've got a good one here from Jerry, who says, I watched Diana 7 Days That Shook the World, a documentary interviewed key people of that week.
Yeah.
But Mike Parry wasn't on it.
No.
Why not?
Well, I never put myself forward to star in those sort of things. I'd like to keep a lower profile.
I see. Will Scarlett, says William. Thank goodness for that. There was
Will Scarlett.
Will Scarlett. That was the other character.
That was yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah, it certainly was.
Yeah.
Listen, remember the other night we talked about Anthea Turner's former husband,
Grant Bovey, yes.
Yeah, and how his property career collapsed
Yes,
and all that kind
indeed.
of stuff. Well, I have a report here saying that he's on the lookout now for like a female partner.
Oh, yeah.
So he's gone onto a dating app,
Has he?
right? But he has shaved 10 years off his age.
Has he?
Mm.
Well, you see, the trouble with dating apps and dating online in general is that people don't often tell the truth about themselves.
Yeah.
do
So Mr. Bovey, who is in reality 56.
Yes.
So, that's not far from my age, really.
No, quite a lot further away than it is from mine.
And he's described as property entrepreneur who unfortunately went bankrupt in 2010.
Oh, yeah.
And then left Anthea Turner after he had an affair with a socialite called Zoe de Mallet Morgan, who was 30 years younger than him, apparently.
Really?
And it says he's now looking for love again with the help of Bumble, which is
Bumble?
Yeah, it's a hookup app Tinder, apparently.
Really?
Similar to hookup app Tinder, but not the same, obviously.
Right.
And it says it allows only
But you
women...
see, the thing is, all of these things are like Tinder, but the only one that really seems to be successful is actually Tinder.
Is it, really? Yeah, that's a dating app, is it?
That's the only one that's been around for a long time, unless you count Grindr.
Grindr, okay. Anyway, it says that this one allows only women users to strike up chats.
Right.
So what does that mean? Is that a one-way...
Well, it means that I think if you are on it as
Yeah,
a man...
yeah.
Yeah, no, if you're on Tinder... I haven't used any of these, by
No,
the way, so
no.
don't look at me as if I'm some kind of expert,
No,
because I'm not in the market,
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the way.
yeah.
On Tinder, you're allowed as a man or a woman to approach somebody of the opposite sex
I see.
and ask them if they like you.
Or the same sex, presumably.
Well, that's
These
normally
days.
something
No?
else. I
Yeah,
think.
okay, yeah.
But I mean, in the sense of what you're describing, I think
Yes.
only the women can contact the men.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
if the man can't contact the woman first,
I see, okay,
so
yeah.
the women have to take a look at you, and she has to
So
make
this-
the first step.
It's designed to protect women from predators, really.
Yes,
Yes.
I
yeah,
would think
that's
so.
a good thing.
So there's no point you going on it.
Well, I wouldn't go on it anyway. I don't go look. I don't go around, searching websites looking for female.
No, of course you
partners.
wouldn't.
I
Why
don't
would you
have
do
to.
that?
I don't have to.
No, of course not.
So
It's
anyway,
just that your email gets hacked about every 5.5 minutes, doesn't it?
no.
Really?
No,
How
no,
long
it
since it last got hacked?
Well, I've never been hacked.
You're always getting your email hacked.
What do you mean hacked?
Hacked when you can't get into your emails and your computer crashes and all that.
No, it's never happened to me.
Well, it's always happening to you. It's happened to you about 5 times since I've known
No,
you.
it hasn't. Honestly,
Oh,
I've
right.
never had a situation like that. I lost my emails once, and my very good friend Junior, who looks after all my electronic stuff, got
Yeah.
it back within 5 or 10 minutes, and he said it
okay.
was just a blip in the system.
Oh, I
It
see.
happens
I
occasionally.
thought it had been hacked.
No, it hasn't been hacked.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, it says here, so it says, looking for love again with Bumble, similar to Tinder, but only now to So when he was asked by somebody involved with this...
So what's happened here, right, is that poor old Grant Bovey is
Yes.
trying to rebuild his life
That's
after
right.
having had a terrible
Yeah.
experience with
Yeah.
Anthea Turner. Has found himself on this website.
Well, in fairness, I think Anthea Turner had a terrible experience with him.
Well, I'm just
because he
putting
went
it-
off and
well, I'm putting
saw
it-
a younger lady.
Well, I'm putting it a different way
Yeah,
because
okay.
he may have had a
Yeah.
difficult time. We don't know who was the one at fault, right?
Yes.
Now he has got himself trying to start a new life with a new woman.
Yes.
And what's obviously happened is some newspaper has decided to put somebody up to try and pretend to be his new girlfriend.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Isn't that what's happened?
Well, it says here he was then asked by the people who run these things.
Yes.
Is it correct? Excuse me. Hang on. Is it correct that your real age is a decade younger? A decade older than that portrayed on the site.
Oh, right.
To which Mr. Bovey apparently replied, "This is my private life. I've got no idea about what you're talking about. No comment."
Right.
And then asked to confirm his age, he replied, "I am definitely 56."
Is he?
So I think he's sort of, maybe given up the charade.
So is he what actual age is he supposed
56.
to be? Oh, so he is 56.
But the picture that's lifted from Bumble says Grant, 46.
Oh, I see.
Grant
Well,
and
it's not,
profile.
it's not the biggest
No.
crime in the world, is it?
No, it's not.
I mean,
No,
people
no.
tend to lie about their age when they get older, don't they?
I don't think you should knock people down for that. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, not everybody likes to reveal their age.
What?
Not everybody likes to reveal their
Well,
age.
no, that's absolutely true.
I mean, you don't like to reveal yours, do you?
It's not. It's just. It's not relevant.
I
Is
mean,
it?
if you
know
went
what
on
I mean?
Bumble, what would you say? Mike Parry, 63.
No, you idiot. I wouldn't say Mike Parry anything because I wouldn't go on Bumble.
Okay.
Because I'm not in a desperately difficult situation of having trying to seek company from afar. What do you think about... What do you think about old Prince Philip retiring then?
I think it's a wonderful life that he's had, and I think that there's plenty of fulsome praise in the papers this morning about his last act as a sort of member of the royal family, last sort of public official duty.
Yes.
I think he's been a great sort of breath of fresh air, to be honest.
Well,
and I think it's true that there comes a time when you're so. I mean, he's too old to do it now. He's not really well enough. He shouldn't have to do it.
No, I agree. 93 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he's stuck it out a lot longer than anybody should have done. Really.
Yeah, 65 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the point is, jokes were made about him when I was a kid. You know, my dad used to make jokes about him as the penniless Greek bum.
Yes.
Who pitched up in Britain and needed
well, he used to
a
be
rich
called
wife.
Phil the Greek, didn't
Phil
he?
the Greek.
Which was a little bit unkind, really, because he did actually have quite... I mean, unlike some of the members of the royal family who didn't exactly serve militarily, he actually had quite a war record, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He had a very good war record.
Yeah.
He was in the Royal Navy.
Yeah.
And he saw active service, you know.
I mean all the sort of medals that they all have, I mean, he actually earned them.
No. Yeah, he did, yeah.
No, he did earn them, unlike Charles.
Yeah, he did. Well, no, Charles earned his because Charles was also an officer in the Royal Navy.
Yeah, but he didn't fight.
In fact, he was captain of a minesweeper.
Yeah, but he didn't fight in a war, though, did he?
No, he didn't.
Whereas the Duke did. Duke
fought in the Second World War.
Yeah.
Andrew fought in the war. He fought in the Falklands War.
Yes, he did. He flew a helicopter
pilot.
Yeah.
Came back, if you remember, and landed at Portsmouth with a rose between his teeth, if you remember.
Right.
And then
those were the days.
As a brilliant young reporter, exposed his romance with Cousteau.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes.
You and plenty of other people.
Sorry?
You and plenty of other people.
Well, yeah, I was at the forefront.
You weren't the only person doing it.
I was at the forefront.
You see, the trouble is...
I found Cousteau when nobody else could.
You spent so long telling people all these rubbish lies about, how you were the sort of preeminent journalist in every single situation. But I know better, and I know it's not true.
Oh, but you see, you don't. Now then, I think we should spend a few minutes at the end of the show here.
Well, I was going to ask you a question.
Everton's chances tonight.
No, I don't. Yeah, well, we can talk about that, but we've only got about a minute for that. I wanted to ask you if you knew that there was a massive problem in Birmingham. Because I know it's your former
massive problem in Birmingham?
Your former neck of the woods.
What sort of problem?
There's a massive dustbin problem. Apparently, yeah.
Think anybody cares?
Well, they do, yeah, because it's...
What's the problem?
Well, the problem is nobody's taking the rubbish out. And there's piles and piles of rubbish building up. Do you remember what it was like in London when there was a binman strike?
Yes.
Well, there's a binman strike going on in Birmingham.
Where's all this come from?
What do you mean, where's it come from?
Well, where's it started? What's the dispute all about?
There's a dispute with the trade union Unite.
Yes. Because
they've announced a load of walkouts and they say it's going to continue until September because there's a dispute over job losses with the city council. Now, I wasn't sure or aware that any city councils were left that actually employed binmen. Because I thought they just employed now refuse companies.
Well, that's what I thought.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you see all the time down in Stockbroker Belt, the name of the local authority, and then the name of the company, so working with, Elmbridge Council.
But listen, I'll show you this picture.
In association.
And you would be appalled. Imagine if you lived amongst that.
That's terrible.
That's a massive
It says Birmingham
pile.
Black Country. That means the whole of the West Midlands.
It's a massive pile of rubbish outside a street.
It's horrible.
It's horrendous, isn't it?
Horrendous.
I'm surprised that our listeners in Birmingham haven't told us.
So am I.
That this has been going on.
So am I. I wish they had.
Anyway, the council apparently saying they're trying to tackle the backlog to get everything thrown out, but so far they're not doing it.
And what's the dispute over again?
It's about job losses. They're making more people redundant in the council.
So they're making it more efficient, and of course,
supposedly,
the unions have a view on this.
So the unions have said, "Well, we're just not going to take anybody's rubbish away."
Yeah.
So I have a lot of sympathy for anyone whose rubbish is not being taken away.
And me. Now then, let me tell you, Everton play in the Europa League tonight.
Yes.
It's
Jason Pickford's going to get a game, apparently.
Yes, that's
He's
right.
going to make his debut.
Yes, that's absolutely right. They are travelling to Ružomberok.
Yeah,
okay.
where is that again?
Slovakia.
Yeah.
And I have to say, 1-goal leads, we prefer a 2-goal cushion, I suppose.
Yes.
But it is a cushion, and I think we'll be okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, during the course of all this, we hope that the deal to take Sigurdsson, Gylfi Sigurdsson.
He's not going to play, is he?
No, he's not going to play. He's still at Swansea.
Ah.
We're hoping that deal is going to be sorted, okay?
Right. And Wayne Rooney's got some kind of groin injury, I'm told.
Who?
Wayne Rooney, remember him?
Yeah.
The former Everton player.
That's right,
Who's
yeah.
just come back.
That's right, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Wayne had some groin issues in the last few days, but he trained a normal session and he's fit to play.
Okay.
So he will be up for consideration.
Yes.
And I would expect him to start.
Yes. Now, we found out last night that Celtic are now through to the next sort of qualifying stage, so they still need to qualify to get into the Champions League.
Yes.
Everton are not still in a qualification phase, are they? This is the very early stage of the Europa League.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So are they in a group or are they just playing?
No, this is knockout.
Oh, so it's knockout?
Yes, they've got to get through tonight.
Oh, okay. So if they get through tonight, they get into the group stage?
Yes, they do.
Is that how it works?
Yes, that's how it works.
So then they have a group of 4?
That's right.
I mean, it's a long old haul, isn't it?
It's 19 games if you want to win the competition itself.
Yes.
Which is, of course, what Manchester United went through last season.
Well, and it was worth it for them because they're now in the Champions League.
Of course it is, yeah.
Which is going to be very interesting.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Very exciting.
Yes, exactly.
Would you like to make a prediction for this evening then?
Yes, Everton will win 2-0.
Will you be watching it?
Of course.
Will you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I should look forward to talking to you about that. What about the quiz? Because we've got a Porky quiz to do tomorrow.
We're bowling out of overnight shows for a while. Actually, you should let the audience know. We're going to be on Talk Radio for the next 2 weeks.
We are going to be on Talk Radio for the next couple of weeks.
And so, therefore, I think we will go out with a bit of a bang tomorrow with a 12-question quiz, which means we will dip into the box of...
The box of Trivial Pursuit.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you still got that box of Trivial Pursuit?
Oh, we have it. It's a magic box.
Do you still have a collection of sealed cards?
Yes, indeed we do.
So no one you're using one that's already been tampered with?
I have had some feedback from the audience. I think that is the most exciting form of quiz.
Really?
Yes. Well, it's
also
one you can't gerrymander.
Well, also you can't cheat.
No, you can't gerrymander.
Yeah.
I did so brilliantly well. I got 5 out of 5 last week, and then you changed the questions.
Because you'd seen all the questions on John's computer.
Rubbish.
True.
I absolutely and utterly deny that.
This is Talk Sport.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the 2 Mics at the 2 Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for 2 Mics TV. The referee is in possession of a sort of a referee cam.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
they're occasionally using to check out what's going on.
Yeah, I want progress on our Rom-Com, please.
Rom-Com?
What was it called? The
Rom-Com?
The camera I bought.
The romantic comedy?
No, what was the camera I bought?
The GoPro.
The GoPro.
Yeah.
Now, footballers, you know, can get into trouble with alcohol, gambling and other addictions.
Aye.
What Darren said wasn't right.
But he has assured me, as Darren, there are no problems and it won't happen again.
If you love the 2 Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Mike Parry's totes cool. It means he's totally cool, man.
Yes.
Not that anybody would say that, obviously.